Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
New Seas Ahead by Peacelight24. Nakama means you never have to say goodbye or be alone, in which Monkey D. Lucy, future Pirate King, and Roronoa Zoro, future world's greatest swordsman, are dumb and everyone else is long-suffering. Or, things with them are always do or die, and love is just the same. Nakama ship, pining, Zorox Femme Lucy. Adios.
Fuck Crocodile. Fuck him, and his fucking hook, and his sadism. Lucy hates guys like him. She'd probably kick his ass even if she wasn't already doing so for Vivi. And Lucy will kick his ass, just as soon as she gets out of this fucking cage. Lucy throws herself against the bars again, and again, and again, despite the protests from Nami and Zoro. She ignores them completely, is focused on Vivi and the way she looks exposed, her forehead crumpled and her lips parted in horror. That bastard's gonna pay. Lucy's going to make sure of it. Fight me like a man, you fucking coward. She throws herself at the cage again, and tries to push back against the weakness. It feels exactly like the sea does, draining, oppressive, and heavy. Lucy has never liked the power the sea holds over her. It's frustrating, because she loves the sea, but it's not in her nature to just give up and die, and the sea takes her agency away, paralyzes her. The fact that this sea stone exists, that it can be found anywhere, it just seems like a slap in the face. Their only hope, as far as Lucy can tell, is that she can build up some kind of resistance to the metal via repeated exposure, and then bust out of here. Oi, stop her before she concusses herself. That shit burns if you hold it too long. Lucy vaguely registers Smoker's voice, and ignores it. She does wonder what happens after it burns though. Loss of feeling, tolerance. She throws herself at the bars, laying a punch on one of the joints that bloodies her knuckles and makes her knees weak from the sea stone, but it doesn't even shake the cage. Ace could get out of here, she thinks angrily. He could just burn it all up. Lucy's always admired Ace's strength, hasn't ever been truly jealous of it, but she wishes she was as strong as him now. Lucy steps back, feels strength return, and winds up for another punch. A familiar calloused hand wraps around her wrist, vice-like. Calm down. You're not helping. Lucy nearly snarls. Let me go, Zoro. I'll let you go when you agree to stop. Lucy glares at him. That was not a suggestion. Zoro, let me go. Zoro hesitates, then sighs and releases her. Lucy takes her wrist back, and as a consolation for making him back down, she relaxes. Lucy knows Zoro doesn't like to back down. The only person he consistently does it for is Lucy, and even then it's only when he knows he's gotten through to her. I'm going to kick his ass, Lucy growls. She's mad. She hasn't been this mad since Arlong. The shark bastard pissed her off more, but that was a pretty high bar. Obviously, Zoro agrees. Lucy shoots him a small smile, to say she's grateful for his faith. Zoro cocks his head to the side, his earrings brushing his shoulder in a brash sort of way that makes Lucy want to smile more. Are they always like this? Smoker huffs. Lucy sends him a confused look, but to her surprise, Nami seems to know exactly what he's talking about and replies with apparent relish. Yes. You absolute brute. How dare you leave Lucy-san to fend for herself? Zoro shoots the cook a quelling glare, the wind whipping past them as the ridiculous crab speeds to the capital. Lucy can take care of herself, Zoro snaps, and Sanji actually rocks back a bit. Zoro presses his advantage, and she gave us a job to do. Sanji looks mutinous. Even Nami looks like she's ready to stage a revolt. It's Chopper that speaks though, but Crocodile. Zoro looks forward, and closes his eyes. He knows. He does. Crocodile is far stronger than anyone they've ever faced before, and this time she doesn't have her crew to step in if the going gets too tough. He's worried, tense, and he's almost angry with her for making him leave her like this. But Zoro remembers, too, how Lucy threw herself at Crocodile when they were locked in that casino, how she picked him as her target before they even set foot on Alabasta. He remembers that he's never seen her lose, and this really is the best course of action. The only one available, once Lucy grabbed that hook. Lucy will be fine. Have a little faith. Lucy can't breathe, but it doesn't matter. Poison coats her veins, but it doesn't matter. She's covered in blood, she can't move, she has several holes in her body and none of it matters. She remembers Vivi's tears. She remembers how much she loves this country, her people, how that love nearly cripples her, like she's just barely strong enough to carry it. She remembers the old man, his faith in the king, that if he just digs deep enough there would be life for the city he and his family built. How he dug all night for a single pint of water. How he gave it to Lucy, and how it saved her life. She remembers Ace and Shanks, who are both waiting for her, who will be disappointed if she never shows. She remembers Zoro, angry and worried after her near execution, and remembers promising him she won't give up, not ever. If she dies here, she'll never be Pirate King. Lucy opens eyes crusted shut with blood, and she can't see a thing. It doesn't matter. Lucy hits until she connects with something, and doesn't stop until light cuts through the dust and darkness. It starts as a rumble, deep within the earth, and Zoro's first thought is there was a second bomb. The rumble gets louder, and Zoro looks for the source. Looks for a way to protect his nakama minus Lucy, because he still doesn't know where she is, but there's nothing, he can't find it, so he stands in front of Chopper and Nami, shoulder to shoulder with Sanji. Hopes Vivi has the good sense to fall backwards instead of forwards from the tower, and prepares for the worst. The rumbling gets louder, more violent, but the earth beneath his feet isn't cracking, there's no bright flash of light. What is this? Nami yelps, clinging to the back of Sanji's shirt. No one answers her. A building collapses about 3 blocks away, and a vacuum of air whips past as earth and sand fall into the chasm Zoro knows is opening. Then, 100 meters in the air, higher than even the clock tower, and thrown as if expelled by the earth itself, there's a black cloaked man who can only be Crocodile, he whispers. That means, Usopp is crying in relief. That can only mean she won. Sanji cheers, and the broadest smile Zoro has ever seen on his face threatens to break it in half. She won, Zoro agrees, and he realizes he's smiling too. Wide and proud to match the giddy joy building in his chest. Nami and Chopper and Usopp are crying in each other's arms and he can hear Vivi sniffling even from down here. Zoro wants to go to her. He has to go to her, right now. He has to tell her how proud he is of her, how proud he is to call her captain. He has to tell her he knew she could do it all along, that he never doubted her, even when he was worried. He has to check her over, make sure she's okay, he has to. Sanji claps him hard on the shoulder, and the rest of his nakama tackle him. Zoro is too distracted making sure he doesn't accidentally stab one of them to finish his thought. Oi! Moss head. Wake up. Sanji, I think he might be really injured. He's fine. Zoro feels a steel-toed boot wrapped sharply on his left shin. Oi, moss head. Zoro manages to peel his eyelids apart. It's like lifting concrete, and Zoro knows what that's like because he raised an entire building off the ground today. He sees Sanji standing above him, looking bruised and exhausted and bloody, and Chopper kneeling at his side, looking not much better. What? He's slurring. He probably shouldn't be slurring. Chopper looks concerned. Zoro, do you have a head injury? Zoro has to think about that. He's pretty sure he doesn't. He had that fight with the guy who could turn into swords, but he wasn't a real swordsman. I'm a man who can cut steel, he remembers. Even Sanji's stupid eyebrows are raised now. Let's leave him and Usopp, get the girls back. We can send one of Vivi's guards for them when we get to the palace. Zoro has no intention of letting any of his nakama out of his sight in the next couple days. You see why? He blinks, recalibrates, and shakes his head, trying to dispel the fuzziness. No, it's fine. Wobblyly, he gets to his feet. Sanji looks at him skeptically. You sure you can carry someone though? Nami-san is in the best shape but no one's up to being dropped. Zoro frowns. Tests his arms. Everything aches, and his cuts sting, but he feels okay to walk to the palace. He's pretty sure. How far is it anyway? Where's the palace? He asks. Sanji rolls his eyes, and hooks a thumb down the long stone street. About 200 yards that way, in a straight line. 200 yards. Zoro's pretty sure he can do that. I'll take Lucy, he offers. Partly because she's the lightest and partly because he's not about to let Sanji lay his paws on her. Sanji scowls at him, serious for once. She's badly injured. Don't pull this shit if you can't actually carry her. Zoro bristles, but forces himself not to explode, or worriedly check over his captain. I'm fine. We're good enough to carry Lucy 200 yards, at any rate. Sanji gives him a long look, and is apparently satisfied. I'll take Nami-san. Chopper, you have Usopp. Chopper sighs tiredly, and shifts to his larger form to better hold their heavily injured Nakama. Zoro turns to his right, and finds Lucy exactly where he left her, leaning at what looks like an uncomfortable angle against the stone wall. She's covered in blood and dirt, all the more visible for her torn alabastan robes, and Zoro is immediately concerned. He wonders, briefly, if he really does have a head injury. He feels more emotional than usual. Oi, Chopper. Is it really safe to move her? He knows not to move people with spinal or neck injuries. Chopper lectured them all about how lucky Sanji was until everyone was nearly sick with the graphic descriptions of what can happen to someone's broken back if it's moved without a stabilizing brace. Chopper nods. I already looked her over. She needs medicine I don't have right now, but she should be safe to move if she isn't jostled too much. That's good enough for Zoro. Painfully, he squats down to scoop her up. His katana clink at his side and kind of get in the way, but he manages to wrestle her into his hold. She hangs limply in his arms, and he's worried she's got some broken limbs or strained shoulders. That was apparently still a thing that could happen, even with her rubber fruit. So he wraps her arms around his shoulders to keep her a little more stabilized, and stands. Sanji and Chopper, not having quite so many injuries to worry about, have already gotten their charges settled, and are kind enough, or tired enough, to wait for him before setting off. Possibly they don't want him to get lost going to the palace, which, Zoro knows he has a bad sense of direction, but he's pretty sure he can walk in a straight line. He takes one more look around their impromptu nap area, just to make sure they aren't forgetting anything. Lucy's hat is nowhere to be found, but there's not much Zoro can do about that right now. He'll look for it later. We shouldn't have fallen asleep here, he grunts, going after the others. It's way too open an area. Way too high traffic. Anyone could have found them here. That crazy marine lady who looks exactly like Kuina could have found them. And Zoro is under no illusions that he or anyone else was alert enough to deal with any threats. We were all past our limits, Sanji mutters. He somehow managed to light a cigarette, even while carrying Nami. Once we found Lucy it was kind of, Sanji doesn't finish, but Zoro knows what he means. Once they found Lucy, it was like the adrenaline drained from them. Energy spent and backup reserves gone. Zoro vaguely remembers struggling to stay upright even as he parked himself beside their indisposed captain. Ready to be on guard as best as he was able even while half asleep on his feet. He remembers managing to sit without looking too pained while Nami reassured Vivi, and then everything goes black. It was like we found Lucy and suddenly everything was safe, Chopper muses casually. Zoro carefully doesn't look at Sanji, and assumes Sanji is doing the same on his end. Chopper isn't wrong, it's just, well, it's like he was telling Chopper. They're all independent people. Depending on someone else so much for their own comfort goes against the grain, just a little. Even when it's Lucy. I was glad to see she's okay, Sanji mumbles around the cigarette, voice low. Zoro wonders if Chopper isn't meant to hear this. One of the Baroque Works members told Usopp and Chopper she was dead. Zoro's head whips around. That was back at the beginning of the fight. Usopp and Chopper fought two members outside the city. And you didn't think to tell me this? Sanji sends him a glare. No, because I knew you'd react badly. A puff of smoke escapes his lips. And Zoro notices he's careful to make sure none of it blows into Nami's face. Besides, you were the one who told us to have faith in her, weren't you? Zoro grits his teeth and breathes out sharply through his nostrils. His mind feels suddenly clear, and he hitches Lucy up a little more in his arms, her head laying on his shoulder. It's like his body found one last store of adrenaline, one last burst of energy in response to a retroactive, meaningless fear. His head is clearer, his senses sharper, ready to face a threat that didn't exist, that couldn't have been fought even when the idea was there. He carefully places his hand so he can feel her heartbeat thrum against her spine. She's fine, he thinks. She's fine. We saw Lucy not long after I found out, anyway. I knew she was alive then, and there was no reason to tell you that Baroque Works thought otherwise for a while. It would only distract you. Zoro takes offense to that. I can fight as well as anybody, anytime. To Zoro's shock and frustration, Sanji just rolls his eyes, but the look on his face is only mildly annoyed. Anyone would be distracted after discovering that. Calm down. Zoro hitches Lucy just a little closer, his hand splayed on her back to steady her, after discovering what? Sanji sends a shocked and slightly incredulous glance at him over Nami's red hair. Zoro returns the look with a defiant one of his own. God, you're an idiot. Oi, guys? These three really need to not be in a fight right now, and so do you, come to think of it. Zoro immediately backs off, and he senses more than sees Sanji do the same. It's not long to the palace now. Just, 50 stairs to the entrance. Sanji didn't tell him about the stairs. Well, whatever. Zoro checks his grip on Lucy, shifts his right arm so he has a firmer grasp on her shoulders, hopes he isn't actually feeling a puncture wound in her back, and prepares to climb. Just then, Lucy shifts, completely of her own accord, and tilts her head so she's nuzzling his neck, her nose pressing into the hollow of his throat and her breath spreading across his collarbone with each shallow gasp. What, is she waking up? Lucy? Her eyes don't open. Zoro would feel the flutter of her eyelashes against his jaw. But her arms tighten around his neck weakly, and her lips brush warm and burning against his skin when she croaks a breathy, "Zero." Here, he tells her. Go back to sleep, Lucy. She doesn't respond. Zoro's not even sure she heard him. But she does relax, her whole body going limp again, clearly exhausted from the tiny effort. Zoro climbs the steps slowly. Sanji and Chopper are already near the top, but Zoro is both more injured than them, and carrying a more injured person. He takes his time, he isn't willing to trip. When he reaches the fifth to last step, he's met with a frantic Vivi in a stretcher. Why didn't you tell me you guys were this bad off? She hisses, but quietly, like she's afraid Lucy will wake up. I would have sent doctors. Zoro is not the person to answer this. You were needed with your father, we were fine. Vivi still looks upset. I thought you guys went to a bar or something, she gestures to the waiting medical staff. Hatefully, Zoro does. Lucy doesn't weigh much, but he's probably more injured than he wants to admit, and she started getting really heavy near step 22. Vivi eyes the careful way he moves with razor-sharp, almost distrusting eyes. Do you need a stretcher too? Or a wheelchair? Zoro shakes his head. Just sleep, and probably stitches, possibly a blood transfusion. Vivi apparently isn't taking chances with her nakama anymore. There's a bed in the infirmary you can use, she snaps primly. Zoro wonders if she's always had this short a temper, or if this is Nami's influence. Either way, Zoro's not about to protest a bed, Vivi immediately seems to take pity on him. The others are already there. Sanji and Chopper are probably asleep by now. Zoro nods wearily. Whatever adrenaline reserve he was running on before is rapidly leaving him. Vivi takes his elbow, and guides him as they walk next to Lucy's stretcher. She looks worse in the soft, steady light of the palace hallway. Zoro guesses that he probably does as well. The infirmary, probably intentionally, is not far from the entrance, and it's barely 20 yards to the doors. It feels like 20 miles to Zoro, but he manages to stay upright and walk unassisted. Lucy's stretcher is rolled up to a bed in the middle of the room, and Vivi guides him to the one next to it. For a second Zoro stares stupidly at the bed. He's pretty sure sitting on it is going to hurt more than standing currently does. Most of his wounds are on his chest and stomach, after all. Nani on back, though, he mutters, his words slurring again. Vivi's forehead creases in concern. Mr. Bushido? The swordsman shakes his head, steels himself, and feels his barely clotted over wounds break as he sits and stretches himself onto the mattress. He doesn't make a sound though, so even though Vivi gasps as she notices fresh blood flow, he doesn't scare her any worse than that. Zoro can't remember if he saw the rest of his nakama in the room. He was watching Lucy too carefully, making sure she got to the doctors safe. 'Cause that's what he does. He's the first mate. He takes care of the captain. Zoro would take care of Lucy even if she wasn't pretty, and strong. Also, kind. Lucy is great, so great. Vivi's face is hovering over him. Zoro can tell 'cause of the hair. I think so too, Mr. Bushido. Vivi sounds amused. He slurs. Vivi probably knows where they are. Vivi's good about that sort of thing. They're right here, Mr. Bushido, Vivi soothes. Everyone's safe and asleep except for you. Huh. Well, that sounds. Zoro doesn't really know how that sounds. Zoro isn't really aware of anything at the moment. Go to sleep, Mr. Bushido. Huh. That was weird. Mostly people tried to make him get up, not go to sleep. Vivi's weird. Good weird though. Lassie? He's pretty sure she's around here somewhere, but he can't remember. Someone tilts his chin to the left, and he can kind of make out the unmistakable dark spikes of his captain's hair. Oh, he thinks. Good. Zoro is dead to the world before he can register anything else. When Lucy wakes, it's to the sound of several people breathing slowly and deeply, as if in sleep. The first thing she thinks is there's one missing. The second thing she thinks is hungry. She jackknifes into a sitting position, throwing off the blankets and looking around the room. It's dark outside, but in the early morning light of dawn she's pretty sure she can make out 4 bodies gathered around the bed, including a head of dark curly hair leaning on the mattress and snoring. She pokes him. Gia! Usopp yells, and then her nakama is sprawled on the floor, looking dazed and surprised. Usopp, what are you doing down there? Usopp sits up, and glares at her. You startled me. Then he blinks. Hey, you're awake. Guys, Lucy's awake. Most of the crew, minus her and Zoro, were relatively light sleepers most of the time, and within seconds there were 4 people awake and in her face. How many meals have I missed? She asks her crew. Judging by the gnawing in her belly, it's been forever. I can make you something, Sanji offers immediately. Nami snorts, looking sleepy and disheveled. You've been asleep 3 days, if that's what you're asking. We were worried about you, Chopper chirps shyly. Lucy smiled at the little reindeer. He's just so cute. 3 days isn't so many. She's been out much longer before. Like with the bear. Then she blinks. Wait, that's 15 meals. Why did you count 5 a day? Usopp demands, exasperated. Sanji offers her an apple. Lucy nearly swallows the thing whole. It doesn't really help, but Lucy's starving, so anything is better than nothing. Where's Zoro? She asks, noticing her swordsman's conspicuous absence. The last time she saw him was when she flew into Alubarna on Pell. He looked kinda beat up then, but she hadn't worried because, well, Zoro is Zoro. She doesn't need to worry. The big oaf was hovering, so he sent him to find your hat, Nami tells her, rolling her eyes. Then she looks out the window, blinking. Actually, that was a while ago. Maybe he got lost. Lucy's hands fly up to her head in surprise. That's right, her hat. Hat? Where is hat? Usopp groans. Nami told you, it's here, a low, gruff voice interrupts, and Lucy looks to the door to see Zoro standing there, hat in hand. Zoro? Hat, she greets. Zoro rolls his eyes and walks up to the bed. Usopp makes room for him, stepping back as Zoro hands Lucy the hat. Here, he mutters. Lucy grins brilliantly at him. Thanks, and she presses the hat to her head where it belongs. Zoro, she notices, seems a little tense. Lucy cocks her head. Are you alright? You're not hurt, are you? Lucy hates to think of an injury that would have taken Zoro more than 3 days to heal from. Zoro shakes his head. I'm fine. But Zoro doesn't seem at ease, and so Lucy decides she needs to make sure he's okay. She doesn't want a repeat of Arlong Park. She reaches out, grabs the hem of his shirt and his hamarki, and yanks up before he can react. He's got several long, deep-looking cuts across his torso. Each is surrounded by deep bruising. A couple are stitched shut, and the remainder are oozing a little blood. Oi! What are you doing? Zoro demands grumpily, stepping back a little out of Lucy's reach. The puncture wound's crocodile gave Lucy twinge a bit as she tries to follow him. You weren't supposed to remove your bandages, Chopper cries, anxious. You're hurt, she states, but if she's being honest, she's seen him run around unburdened after worse injuries. The hawk comes to mind. But it's been 3 days already, so she's guessing they were pretty bad before. I'm fine, he grouses. But despite the annoyed twist to his mouth, he looks more relaxed than he did a second ago. Okay, Lucy decides. If Zoro says he's fine, he wouldn't lie to her. Zoro studies her for a second, suspicious. But he must see that she believes him, because then his eyes lighten to dark silver gray, and his mouth quirks up at the edges. You took long enough to wake up though, sheesh. Lucy shrugs. Hungry. Zoro snorts, but he twists a little closer to her and Lucy takes it as a win. Vivi said she's treating us as soon as you were awake, Usopp explains. I want to cook for Lucy-san and Nami-san and Vivi-chan, Sanji interjects, running for the door. Zoro, probably unconsciously, sidles a little closer to Lucy's bed, so he's standing between her and the open door. Lucy squashes the urge to hug him. She kind of just wants to cling. Like a koala. She never realized how tactile she is until realizing she wants to touch him in ways she probably shouldn't. Come on, Lucy, Nami demands. We're going to have a bath before breakfast. Well, real breakfast. I think the palace cook left a cart of food for you. Lucy's thoughts are, as usual, utterly and completely derailed by food. But Zoro, like her hat, like Shanks, and like Ace, is never far from her thoughts, if she's being honest. Zoro is scrubbing the shedding fur off of Chopper's back and trying not to think about Lucy and her various injuries when he hears it. Hey, where's the girls' bath? That skeevy cook, what the hell did he think he was doing? Aside from the fact that peeping on the girls is wrong, he's asking Vivi's father to help him. It's over that wall. The king answers merrily, pointing to a gap in the ceiling. What? But the girls are over there and the cook. Lucy's over there. Lucy's over there and the cook, the king, and everyone in this bath who is not Zoro is going to try and take a peek at her. Dark, greedy possessiveness fills him. No one is allowed to see Lucy like that. No one. The first one who touches that wall, Zoro growls lowly, and apparently leaking enough killing intent to stop even Sanji, the pervert, dies. Usopp squeaks. The king gulps. Igara mutters something about threatening the king, but it sounds more like he's saying it for propriety's sake than anything. Chopper whines in terror, which would normally make Zoro feel guilty since the reindeer is the only other innocent party here, but not today. Sanji looks like he's willing to risk it. Zoro stares him down, projecting as much malice as he can without swords in his hand. Finally, the cook sighs, dejected. Man, sometimes your feelings for Lucy-san are a real killjoy. What are you talking about? He hisses. Sanji raises an eyebrow. Cobra turns to the cook. He's kidding, right? Usopp just sighs. He's kidding, Chopper confirms, the traitor. Zoro growls, turns red, and resolves to throw all of the cook's cigarettes into the ocean next chance he gets. Lucy's never been to an onsen before, much less a royal bathhouse. It's nice, despite the care she has to take considering how much the sea hates her. The water is warm and soothes the aches in her muscles. Loosens the scabs on her wounds, makes her skin feel soft and smooth. She tries to have a hold your breath contest with Nami and Vivi, but they're both a little too tired and mature to do that. Also, Nami insists that full submersion is pushing her luck just a little too far. Lucy pouts, and wishes she could play on the boys' side. Usopp and Chopper would love to have a hold your breath contest. But of course she can't because she's a girl, and they're boys, and in the bath they're all naked. Lucy involuntarily starts to imagine Zoro without a shirt, and is immediately grateful to the heat for already turning her skin red. She really shouldn't imagine Zoro like that. It's not nice. It's like the men in Fuchsia. So, Vivi, Nami's smile is the sharp one she uses when she's planning to acquire money. You're a princess. You must know some charming princes. Hopefully ones with large sums of money at their disposal? Vivi looks amused. I haven't attended anything resembling a social gathering in the last 3 years, Nami-san. Lucy leans forward just a little too far, and starts to slip off the underwater bench. Nami's arm flashes out and pulls her back up without even dropping Vivi's gaze. But you must know someone. Vivi laughs a little. Really, only person I hung out with that was my age was Koza. Anyone else was a fair bit older than me. Nami's expression goes sly, and Lucy experiments with the way her legs are all weightless in the water, but the parts above the water isn't. He's handsome, isn't he? Vivi's expression becomes a bit embarrassed. Nami-san. I mean, I'm more of a brunette person myself, but he's so passionate, and the man has excellent pecs. That's mean. Lucy scolds, looking at Nami with equal parts surprise and disappointment. You shouldn't talk about people like that, Nami. Nami and Vivi look equally floored by her comment, but it's Nami who speaks. What do you mean, Lucy? Like, Lucy flounders, not really sure what she's trying to say. Like things, rather than people. Both her Nakama's expressions soften, and Lucy stares them down, confused. Her Nakama are nice people, not like those men from Fuchsia. Lucy-san, that's not what Nami-san meant, she was teasing me. Lucy frowns, not really getting it. But, there's a difference between objectifying people, and admiring people you like and care about. You know? Nami interrupts. She's leaning over the granite edge of the pool, looking limp and relaxed. Lucy cocks her head to the side. I don't, what's the difference? Nami frowns a little in concentration. I guess, if you like someone for their personality and character, and also think they're attractive, then that's okay. But if you see someone and only care about how they look, and how they make you feel, then that's bad. And also, it depends on whether the attention is welcome or not, Vivi adds. That's usually a problem women have more than men though. Lucy frowns. So the way Sanji looks at women. Nami rolls her eyes. Sanji's a weirdo who's somehow got it in his head that women are a higher class of being or something. And yes, he has a tendency to objectify women. But he would sooner take out his own eye with a kitchen knife than make any woman feel uncomfortable. Lucy thinks of how careful Sanji is to treat her in a manner she's comfortable with, how he makes it a point to show her he respects her, and thinks maybe Nami has a point. It's okay to be attracted to people, Nami adds, an odd, calculating look in her eye. It's natural, even, especially when it's people you like. Lucy thinks briefly of Zoro, then flushes. Nami's eyes gleam. But it's not nice, Lucy insists, and it isn't, she would know. It's not nice to act on it, Vivi corrects, at least, it's not nice to act on those feelings if someone doesn't like the attention. Objectification is never good, but attraction is different than that. Lucy frowns at both of them. Nami makes a humming noise. Me, I don't mind the attention. I like it, even. It makes men easier to manipulate, you know? Lucy gives Nami a blank look. No, Nami huffs. The point is, I don't mind attention. It's therefore really hard to make me uncomfortable. Possible, but difficult. Other people may have different standards though. And that's okay too. But attraction isn't a crime, okay? You're allowed to like boys, and like the way they look. I like boys, Lucy confirms. Mostly just Zoro-shaped boys, but whatever. Never would have guessed, Nami adds dryly. Vivi giggles. Lucy doesn't get the joke. I do though. Again, Zoro-shaped boys, preferably with their shirts off, but… Well, Vivi's with you there. At least when it comes to certain rebel leaders, Nami-san. As it turns out, turning red in the bath is completely, totally possible. Lucy doesn't really get the joke, but Vivi is redder than Alabasta's sunset. Lucy is sitting on the Mary's figurehead when Zoro finds her. It's nighttime, and the sea is a bit choppy. Most everyone is inside, except for Usopp, who's on watch in the crow's nest. Lucy must have heard him come up, but she doesn't turn around. Her shoulders are shaking, but she doesn't make a sound. Zoro gets it. He misses Vivi too. Zoro doesn't say anything, just comes up to her side and leans on the railing to her right. If she wants to talk, he'll let her. If she wants him to leave her alone, he will. Lucy shakes a little, raises a bandaged fist to clumsily wipe her cheeks, and turns to him with a small hiccup. Zoro? She whimpers. Unshed tears shine on her lashes and her face is red and splotchy. Then, somehow, Zoro's arms are full of Lucy, her wet face pressed into the crook of his neck and her hands fisting in his shirt. Her legs are wrapped around his waist and Zoro just barely manages to get his arm under her so she doesn't fall. Another hiccup. I miss her. Zoro is not good at comforting people. Especially not crying people, and especially when he's feeling so shitty himself. But this is Lucy he's talking about. Lucy, who just saved a country with her fists, who runs on cheer and enigmatic whimsy, who saved Zoro from a crucifix in Shell's town. If there's anyone Zoro can pull it together for, it's her. Zoro pats her back, a little awkwardly, and nods, I know. He can't believe Lucy cries so quietly. This is the first time he's ever seen her sob like this. Her breath hitches as she tries to get the words out. I wanted her to come with us. Zoro always knew, deep down, that Vivi was never going to choose them over her home, However much she may want to. She's too dutiful for that, too in love with her people. Me too. Lucy clutches his shirt a little harder and doesn't speak for a while. There's nothing here Zoro can fix. It's just pain, and it's the kind that can't be fought with a sword. Sometimes people make choices that hurt, even if they're the right choices. It takes a while, but eventually Lucy quiets. Her grip changes from desperate to meek, and she's so still and quiet Zoro thinks she might have fallen asleep. He's about to take her to the girl's cabin when she speaks up, her voice soft. "I'm glad you're here, Zoro." Her fist tightens slightly around his shirt, then relaxes again, and her voice breaks a little on the words. "I hate when people leave. I'm not going anywhere, so stop blubbering." A small hiccup that might be a giggle, I know. A shadow crosses the deck, and Zoro is aware of Robin immediately. He doesn't trust that woman at all. He trusts Lucy and her judgment enough not to throw her overboard, but he doesn't trust her not to stab them all in the back. He believes her story about Lucy saving her beneath the Lubarna. He's just not sure this is the type of woman who honors a life debt, especially if she didn't want to live in the first place. The way she sometimes stares at Lucy, like the cheerful girl holds all the secrets of the universe, makes Zoro anxious, protective and territorial in a way he usually isn't. Robin doesn't approach them, though he can tell she notices. Instead she goes up to the AFT deck, and settles beneath the tangerine trees. "Alabasta needs her, I guess," Lucy mutters. Zoro shifts his grip on her. His arm is falling asleep. He doesn't let go. Yeah, it does. "Zoro? I'm glad we met." Zoro just presses her a little closer. "Yeah?" Lucy really does fall asleep after that, but Zoro can't quite bring himself to take her to bed until much later. Lucy knew as soon as she walked into Pub and Pies that there were people here ready to pick a fight. This town is packed with pirates and it's only to be expected. Normally that kind of thing excites Lucy more than irritates her, but she and Zoro promised Nami that they wouldn't fight, so instead of having a fun bar brawl, she pouts, eats bad pie, and Zoro drinks. That was just annoying. Then Bellamy walks in with a call of, "Is there a pirate bitch with a straw hat here?" Lucy turns to the door, frowning. She immediately senses hostility from Zoro and Nami aimed at the newcomer. Lucy's been called worse. She doesn't move and neither do her nakama, who are waiting for her signal. Bellamy strides forward, licking his teeth as he checks her out. Lucy is pretty sure he's not trying to figure out if she can throw a punch or not. So, he starts, pausing in front of her. "You're worth 30 million?" The way he says it implies something other than piracy is involved. Zoro growls beside her. "What's it to you?" Nami looks angry, but she conceals it well, and tries to break the tension. "You're the guy who bought the hotel, right?" He doesn't answer either of her nakama. Instead he steps up to the bar, standing next to Lucy. He's trying to physically intimidate her, and so he remains standing. "I'll have a glass of your finest red. And get this lady whatever she likes." He gives her a smile that would probably be sorta nice if it wasn't so obviously false. The bartender looks incredibly uncomfortable. His hand twitches like he's going to intercede or push Bellamy away from Lucy, but he stills instead. "All right." Bellamy's first mate makes his entrance while the bartender gets their drinks. He doesn't speak to Lucy, doesn't even look at her, and Lucy makes a point of keeping her attention off of him. Zoro will take care of it if he attacks. Nami looks tense, and maybe a little resigned. She's probably expecting Lucy and Zoro to break their promise not to fight in the next 30 seconds or so. The bartender sets their drinks down in front of them, wine for Bellamy, juice for Lucy. Normally she wouldn't share drinks with a man she distrusts so intensely, but Zoro and Nami are here so she's not worried. "Cheers," Bellamy calls, falsely friendly. Lucy paints on a smile, and raises her glass. "Cheers." Lucy goes to take a sip, and when she's momentarily distracted a meaty fist snaps out to snatch her by the knot tying her shirt together. She's yanked up by her chest. She wobbles in the direction of her assailant, and then something sticky and cold washes over her shoulders, chest and stomach. Lucy looks down just in time for Bellamy to tip the remaining contents of his drink out on her head before shoving her back against the bar. Bellamy steps back, licks his teeth and leers. Everything goes blank in Lucy's head, reality fizzing around the edges. Zoro nearly decapitates him on the spot, his face thunderous, and Lucy knows the only reason he doesn't is so she can do it herself if she wants. Anyone who earns that look from Zoro should be much more afraid than Bellamy currently is. What are you gonna do, stick boy? Zoro's grip on his katana is white-knuckled. Lucy? There's too much white noise filling Lucy's head for her to properly answer. Is she angry? Is she upset? She's not sure. Wait, Zoro, we need information. Nami. Mister, we want to go to Sky Island. Know anything about it? There's a pause, and then a burst of laughter from all corners of the room. It filters through the white noise as her fury rises. Everyone in the bar is nearly crying with mirth, minus Lucy, Zoro, and Nami. Zoro steps back between Nami and Lucy in a defensive position. The assembled pirates are all toasting each other, making mean-spirited jokes, and Nami is slowly growing red in the face with humiliation. To their left, Bellamy shudders in laughter. Haha, I can't take it anymore. You idiots actually believe in Sky Island? Lucy says nothing, just stares him down. Bellamy giggles at the look, unfazed. Huh? What age are you from, princess? Only pirates who dream would believe such a fairy tale. Lucy has a dream. Lucy lives for her dream. Having an impossible dream is practically a prerequisite to being on her crew. I was going to tap you girls for certain roles on my ship, Bellamy snorts, but dreamers just aren't worth the hassle. Zoro's grip tightens on his katana. Only the strong survive, you know. In this new pirate era, all that matters is how much you make, and the strength you acquire. Living your dream? Bellamy spits in her face. Worthless. This is like Shanks, and the bandit. This guy isn't worthy of hearing her dream. Well, whore? Bellamy growls, bending over Lucy. Aren't you going to say anything? Lucy doesn't, and Bellamy grabs a beer bottle from the counter. Don't think I won't hit a woman, Bellamy crows. A woman who calls herself captain is asking to be slapped. Lucy manages to send Zoro a quick look, stand down, before Bellamy breaks the bottle over her head. She falls to the ground on her back, limbs sprawling in 4 directions. Lucy feels slivers of glass sting her cheeks, and Nami calls for her. Look at this bitch. Do you spread out for just anyone? Do you think she likes getting smacked around, boys? Do you think it turns her on? There's a chorus of cheers around them. Everything in Lucy wants to fight. She wants to rip Bellamy limb from limb, set fire to the remains and dance around his entrails. She wants to do the same to the crew of men who would let Bellamy do this to someone. But she can't. She can't because she knows this trick. It's just like the men in Fuchsia, Lucy thinks. He wants the reaction, he craves it. Lucy is spread out on the floor, feeling vulnerable, and then Bellamy throws another bottle at her head. Lucy shifts just enough to avoid the glass. Beer splashes on her face, gets in her eyes, and new cuts appear on her forehead. Don't react. Don't even look at him. He's not worthy to hear my dreams. Lucy sits up slowly, clearing her mind. Zoro is standing behind her defensively, and she can see every muscle in his back is tense with his fury. Lucy, Zoro, forget what I said, just kick his ass. I would love to, Nami. But we can't. Zoro. Her first mate's eyes flash in anticipation, ready to demand blood. Lucy knows he might hate her for this, but her mind is set and she stands. Don't fight them. Zoro looks at her, fury and wrath in his eyes, his hands clenched so hard around his katana that they're shaking. She can taste his bloodlust as clearly as she feels her own. There are things I won't abide, he warns, but he releases his swords and steps over to her so they stand shoulder to shoulder. Thank you, Zoro. What are you talking about? Fight them. Oh, I see you know your place, little captain, Bellamy crows. Lucy doesn't acknowledge him, just stares straight ahead. You know I'm better than you and your little swordsman. You know neither of you can beat me in a fight, so you're hoping pacifism will save you. How clever. Bellamy throws an uppercut that lifts Zoro off his feet, but only slightly. Lucy doesn't watch, and tunes out the crowd of people around them. They could kick your ass from here to North Blue, you arrogant. Nami, don't involve yourself more. They singled Lucy out because she's the captain. They chose Zoro because he's a man, and because he defended Lucy. Nami will get out of this unscathed unless she does something she shouldn't. You have such a spirited woman on your crew. Maybe she should be captain, since it seems like she's the only one with any spine. Come on, Nami. You're my failsafe. Someone from behind slams a bottle on Lucy's shoulder, and someone kicks Zoro's knees from behind. Lucy hears the joint pop out of place, and trusts that Zoro is strong enough to take it. Bellamy is still focused on Lucy, and this time he punches her in the solar plexus. The wind is knocked out of her, but she doesn't show it, doesn't bend over to try and catch her breath, even hued at the edges. I wonder what your swordsman would do if I took you right here in front of him, in front of my whole crew, and yours. Bellamy crows. Repulsively, his crew gives their captain a loud roar of approval. Do you think he'd intervene? Or maybe just stand there? What if I let everyone in here have a go at you? He doesn't move, but Lucy feels Zoro's attention like a razor on her skin even as Bellamy throws a left hook at her cheek. He's wearing rings, and the gems dig into her flesh and open her lip. Lucy returns her head to center, doesn't speak, doesn't focus on anything at all. Zoro, what is wrong with you? Are you a man or not? Bellamy reaches for her shirt, for the knot that holds it together. Nami shrieks at Zoro incoherently, and Lucy locks herself in place. Doesn't snap his finger off like she wants to. She knows this will be over if he tries to undo the knot. Lucy won't be touched like that and Zoro will not stand by for it, but the threat makes her burn. No one this brazen is doing it for the first time, after all. But you're not a very shapely bitch, are you? Bellamy muses. He changes tactics suddenly, and his hand shoots up to grab her chin. Zoro is thrown to the other side of the room, but she can feel him paying close attention. Feels his aura burn through her and straight to Bellamy. Lucy looks past the man even as he forces her gaze up, doesn't even acknowledge him with eye contact. Good for a fucker too, but not much more. Only decent feature is your face. Bellamy raises the neck of a broken bottle in his right hand. Do you realize it then? That you were never winning this fight? Maybe he does, unconsciously. Maybe underneath all the bluster and posturing and violence Bellamy somehow understands that they behave this way because they are above him, not below. Or maybe he's just a violent man who hates women. How would it be if I disfigured it? Maybe gouged one of your eyes out, or lopped off your nose. A few beer bottles and punches, Lucy can tolerate, but if anyone's going to leave her with scars it's not going to be this man. He's not worth it. Come on, Nami. I gave you an out. Lucy and Zoro can't fight without losing, but Nami can. The girl in question is currently restrained by the bartender, spitting profanities and reaching for something behind her back. Bellamy presses the edge of the bottle to Lucy's cheek. Maybe I should carve my name here. Mark you so everyone knows who you bowed to without a fight. Lucy doesn't react, keeps a careful watch on the amount of pressure he's using. She feels the edge slice her cheek, and a bead of blood drips to the glass. 3 rapid footsteps, and a bottle breaks across Bellamy's face, and he stumbles back, surprised. The shard of glass scrapes Lucy's cheek a little as it slips from his grasp, and Nami is suddenly between them, chest heaving in rage. We're leaving, she declares, staring Bellamy down fearlessly. Bellamy looks less than amused, and stares Nami up and down. Well, aren't you an uppity little bitch? He swaggers, like it will make everyone forget he has blood running down his face and wine soaking his clothes. I like girls like you though. Tell you what, how about I buy you? You look like a girl who likes money and doesn't care how she makes it. Nami has the good sense to not respond, but Lucy sees her fists clench. But Bellamy seems suddenly bored with her and waves her on. Go on then. You'll have to drag the swordsman out though. My men roughed him up a bit too much. Lucy could tell them that Zoro puts himself through more pain in one training session than these men could cause in a week, but she doesn't. Nami goes to him immediately, and crouches down to find the best place to grab him. Unfortunately, the beating isn't quite over. Bellamy's eyes are still fixed on Lucy. The girl waits for the final blow. When Bellamy moves, it's fast. Lucy sees it all, and she's sure Zoro does as well. But she doubts anyone else can follow his movements as he backhands her so hard she flies straight out of the pub's entrance. Lucy skids across the gravel almost 10 meters before she stops, curled on her side. The road rash stings. Lucy opens her eyes just in time to see Nami jog out of the bar with Zoro in tow, dragging him by the back of his shirt. Nami makes a beeline to Lucy, and drops Zoro next to her unceremoniously. Lucy sits up, and Zoro pushes himself to all fours. Nami is angrier than Lucy ever remembers seeing her. She stands above them, fists clenched, feet apart and her face dark. What were you thinking? Lucy stands, and she still can't quite focus on anything. If she does, she'll explode. Then Nami does something she doesn't expect. She bursts into tears and throws herself at Lucy. Oh, Nami, the only time Lucy has ever seen Nami cry is that day in Arlong Park. Lucy brings her arms up slowly, so she doesn't startle the other girl, and pats her soothingly on the back. Next to them, Zoro stands slowly. He's not looking at her. It was a fight, Nami. If we reacted, we lost. Lucy doesn't bother explaining more now. Her navigator is too upset. Over Nami's shoulder, Lucy watches Zoro, bruised and dirty and tense. He still isn't looking at her. Something twists in Lucy's gut because this is Zoro. Zoro, who always surreptitiously checks her injuries after a fight, who is always right beside her. Lucy wants to reach out for him, but her arms are full of Nami and she's not sure he wants her to touch him right now. Ah, don't cry, pretty girl, booms a voice. Your friends took a beating but they won that fight without throwing a punch. Lucy turns around to see the man from the bar. He's huge, with an oddly shaped body. His hips are too wide for his chest, and he's rotund enough that it looks like he has difficulty walking, and long, oily black hair. He's missing teeth, but he's smiling at them genuinely enough. This new era stuff they're spewing is crap, he declares, and wolfs down another bite of the disgusting pie. The age where pirates dream, over. What a load of shit. His toothless grin broadens, and declares, a man's dream will never die. He picks up a bottle of sake, and tips his head to Lucy. Or a woman's, as the case may be. Lucy doesn't like him. She's not even sure why. His appearance doesn't disturb her. He kind of reminds her of Dayton, in a weird way. And nothing he's saying is wrong, exactly. She could almost agree with him, even. She would if something about him didn't make her want to break his nose. Then there's the fact that he's not alone. Lucy senses 1, 2, 3 pairs of eyes on her and the man before her. This is deception. Something about him isn't right. Let them laugh. The man crows. Anyone who wants to be a first-rate pirate is going to encounter a time when there is no reason to fight back. Nami has mostly stopped crying, or at least she's too distracted by the man to let her emotions get the better of her, and stands at Lucy's side. Zoro hovers behind them a few steps, but Lucy knows without looking that his back is still turned to her. It would be great if you could get there, smiles the man as he wobbles to his feet. To Sky Island, I mean. She doesn't answer him, just watches as he turns his back to her and waddles off, tipping his liquor up to his lips. Nami, still a bit teary, grabs Lucy's arm like she's afraid Lucy will go back to the bar. But they're still standing in the middle of the street, and they're covered in blood and alcohol, so she steers Nami toward Zoro and their ship. Lucy, he says after they've walked out of town in silence, and her stomach sinks at the barely restrained wrath in his voice. Never make me do that again. And then he walks off into the forest, never once looking back. Oi, shitty swordsman. I got a bone to pick with you. Zoro glares up from his tense-ending stance, just as the 3 trees around him burst apart in a shower of perfectly sized blocks of wood. The cook is storming up to him, heedless of the falling lumber, and he looks livid. Zoro has a pretty good idea what he's up in arms about. Zoro's pretty furious about it himself. Go away, shitty cook. A vein bulges on Sanji's forehead, but to Zoro's surprise, he rears back, in that cool way he sometimes does when he's truly angry. Nami told us everything, Sanji growls, she was crying. Zoro bristles at his tone, at the accusation. Unwillingly, he remembers the bar, the way Bellamy spoke to Lucy, being so angry he couldn't breathe, how he came so close to snapping and severing Bellamy's hand from his wrist, how it would have taken only centimeters more. It was hours ago, and Zoro is still burning. I got nothing to say to you. Zoro grunts. Sencho was covered in wine. Chopper had to pick glass out of her cheek. Zoro's knuckles widen around his katana. He can picture the leer in Bellamy's eyes as he tried to demean Lucy, can picture the way she looked, burning with resolve and something dangerously close to disdain as he threatened to. Deep breath. I know. Usopp was ready to go find them and burn them to the ground. Zoro doesn't speak. Why didn't you? Zoro returns his katana to their scabbards. If he holds Kitetsu while speaking to Sanji about this, He can't guarantee his reaction. The cursed blade's fury resonates too closely to his own right now. Sanji is aggressive now, and he steps forward, menacing. I thought if there was one person I could count on to keep Sencho safe, it would be you. Lucy doesn't need anyone to keep her safe, Zoro snarls back. And she ordered me down. It wasn't the kind of fight a blade could win. He understood that. He really did. He knew immediately why Lucy ordered him not to fight. He understands pride and honor the same way Lucy does. That doesn't mean standing down wasn't hard. Sanji snaps, and throws a kick to Zoro's chest. Zoro blocks it with his forearm and winces a little at the force. Sanji isn't holding back at all. Sanji whips back to his feet, and Zoro stares him down, impassive. If even half the things Nami recalled actually happened, Sanji's face turns stone-like. Then you're even less worthy to hold affections for Sencho than I thought you were. Zoro is sure it was all true. Nami is sneaky, but she's not a liar, and she has an excellent memory. Lucy can fight her own battles. You're meant to be a man, Mosshead, that's enough. Zoro grabs the front of Sanji's shirt, and pins him against the nearest tree and hisses, "You don't think I wanted to fight?" Sanji's eyes dilate in accusation. "You don't think I want, even now, to go and flay them alive?" Sanji is unabashed, and pushes against his arm. "So why didn't you?" "She ordered me to stand down, you dumb cook." Sanji swings a leg up, and breaks his hold, looking at Zoro with something close to disgust. "If it went any farther than it did, dumbass, would you still have let them?" Zoro snarls, remembers the rage he felt at Bellamy's threats. "Do you think Lucy would just let someone?" He can't even say the words. "Of course I wouldn't just let that happen. But she wouldn't either." He sighs, suddenly tired. Sanji hesitates, his thunderous expression faltering for a moment. Sencho is strong. The blue eyes flash at Zoro again. "I wouldn't have let them say those things to her." That's a lie. Sanji would stand down immediately if Lucy asked. It would kill him, and his control would probably snap, but he would. "I didn't want to." It comes out a bit more hurt than he intends, and Sanji raises his stupid eyebrows at the tone. "If they touched her," Sanji hedges. Zoro's vision flashes red at even the words, and he has to tamp down bloodlust. "I would have peeled the muscle from their bones and cut out their tongues, orders or not." Sanji leans back against a nearby tree, considering him. In his own dumb way, Sanji understands honor. Not the same way Zoro and Lucy do, but in his own weird form. It must be kicking in now, because he looks calmer than before. "Man, Lucy-san gives such harsh orders sometimes, demanding a man's pride like that. But I would offer her anything she wished. What a lovely, fearsome captain." Zoro figures that's Sanji's way of saying he's forgiven. It doesn't actually make him feel any better. "You should talk to her. She looked upset that you weren't there." And now Zoro feels guilty. Shit, this day sucks. Sanji looks around suddenly, like he's just noticing the perfectly carved chunks of wood for the first time. "What were you doing out here, Mosshead?" Zoro hooks a thumb behind him, to where a pile of perfectly sized slivers of wood 10 meters high rests. Toothpicks. Sanji doesn't actually drop his cigarette, but Zoro does see it slip a little bit. Several hours after Lucy and Nami returned to the ship, the crew is mostly calmed. Nami is still angry but not crying, and Lucy is now sporting several bandages courtesy of Chopper. Sanji disappeared an hour ago, but not before plying her with a bunch of healing smoothies, as he called them. They taste like chocolate, and Sanji was scared and wanted to feed her, so she drank them all. They left Mocktown around noon. The sun is starting to set, still no Zoro. Maybe he got lost. Zoro has a terrible sense of direction. He usually manages to show up when he's needed though. She needs him. Maybe she should look for him. Lucy bites her lip. She's been worrying about Zoro all day. Or more accurately, she's been worrying about her relationship with Zoro. He's never been so mad at Lucy that he couldn't talk to her about it. He's never needed time to calm down before he speaks to her, he just does. She's never been worried that he won't want to come back before. Was what she did that bad? She made him stand down, but it's not like she made him watch Bellamy carry out his threats. It's not like she would have stood for that anyways. That fight was about respect, not strength. Lucy spent this afternoon explaining that to Nami, who was unamused to find out that Lucy was counting on her to end the fight the whole time. Honestly, Nami's visceral reaction to this whole situation made her wonder, darkly, if her navigator was, like Makino. Or maybe it's just that Nami is protective of her sometimes, always has been, in her own way. Lucy hopes, desperately, that it's the latter. Over the course of their conversation, Lucy discovered that Nami understands Zoro's reaction better than Lucy does, which is a first. Lucy's never needed help understanding her swordsman before. Of course he's upset. You completely unmanned him when you told him not to fight, even with that man saying those things. Nami crossed her arms, angry. Honestly, I'm impressed he had that much restraint, what with the way Nami trailed off. Shook her head. Anyway, you should apologize. The rubber girl swings herself up to the crow's nest. The Mary is docked right now, so there's no need for anyone to be on watch. The figurehead is currently not connected to the hull, and well, the crow's nest is Zoro's favorite place to nap. Lucy leans against the railing and glares at the sea. It seems weird that Zoro would be angry with her for that. Surely he understands that was how to win the fight. Zoro always understands these things. And why would winning a fight via stoicism unman him? Zoro is very manly. And if this is a pride thing, well, this fight was about keeping their pride. Why would winning deprive him of it? Lucy isn't happy about what Bellamy said herself, but she's never been able to hold a grudge. At all. And the whole thing is resolved now. They won, no lasting damage done, and so why? Ah. Zoro. Sanji-kun. Lucy scrambles to the opposite side of the crow's nest just in time to see her two most quarrelsome nakama board. Oh. Sanji went to find gratitude in somethinger, and Lucy feels a silly for worrying. Of course Zoro wouldn't just leave. He's not that type of person. Lucy knows better. She watches him closely. He's still bloody from the bar, and he's sweaty in a way that tells her he's been working out. His eyes skitter around the deck before Robin says something, and he immediately looks up to the crow's nest. They make eye contact. Lucy sends him a smile that he probably can't see from the deck. Sanji says something aggressive to him, and Zoro growls something back before stomping over to the rope that feeds to the crow's nest. Oh, he's coming up. Lucy sits back, leaning against the rail and shuffling so he'll have room to climb in. Why does Lucy suddenly feel nervous? It's Zoro. She's never felt nervous or even awkward around Zoro before. Hell, she's never felt nervous or awkward, period. Is this because she likes him? Is that what's happening here? That seems like a really unfortunate trade-off. Just then, the ropes creak and Zoro vaults over the side of the crow's nest, crouching gracefully on the rail. They share a long glance. For once Lucy can't tell what he's thinking, and it makes her weirdly uncomfortable. After a moment, Zoro sighs and slips down to sit next to her. They don't speak for a while. Lucy gets the feeling he's trying to figure out what she's thinking too. The thought makes her feel a little better. Maybe Zoro is as confused as she is. Nami says you're mad at me because I unmanned you, she tells him, figuring they may as well start with what she knows. Zoro goes rigid, and Lucy immediately feels bad. He grits his teeth, a growl rumbling in his chest. Lucy hears him whisper a profanity before glancing down at her. I'm not mad at you. Really? That's great. Lucy feels almost buoyant. She's so happy, like she could swim and the sea wouldn't be able to sink her. She nearly reaches out to take his hand before she realizes. Wait, then why are you mad? Zoro looks a little lost. Lucy feels bad. Usually Zoro doesn't need to tell her how he feels, because she already knows, but this time words are necessary. Those guys back at the bar, mostly, but I guess I'm more frustrated than mad. Wait, still? He's still mad at Bellamy and them? Why are you mad at them? We won? Zoro's fists clench, and then release. He's not looking at her. You know how I'm your nakama? Lucy nods. Zoro is the first nakama she ever had. Of course she knows. She'll never forget. Well, there are things that someone could say to you in particular that it goes against my nature to let pass. Lucy cocks her head to the side. The things Bellamy said in the bar, those qualify. Lucy leans forward, wraps her arms around her shins and sets her chin on her knees. I wouldn't have let them do anything like what they were saying. They were weak, too, so I wasn't really in any danger. Zoro closes his eyes. I know, that doesn't, he swallows. I know you can take care of yourself, but I can't hear shit like that directed at you and not do something about it. Lucy rocks back on her heels. She isn't sure she gets it. Zoro must see that because he changes tactics. If someone said those things to Nami, the type of things you heard today, what would your reaction be? Easy. Pulverize them. There was a reason she made sure Nami didn't have any attention drawn to her. Nami can take care of herself, but you still want to protect her, right? Oh, so is that why? Is that what you meant when we left the bar? About not doing that again? Zoro flushed a little. I meant, making me watch someone do that to you and not do anything about it. Lucy frowned. But that's what we had to do to win. Zoro shakes his head. I know that's why you didn't stop him. A pause. You're my captain. I don't like watching people disrespect you. Especially like that. Lucy glances at him under her hat. I can't promise it'll never happen again, she tells him. Zoro's expression doesn't change. But, I will remember your feelings. Lucy sees Zoro relax, and she knows they're okay again. Sounds fine. He reaches out to gently grab her chin, and tilts her face up to inspect her injuries. Lucy fights down a blush, because Zoro's hands are rough and warm and she likes it when he touches her. So, what? You're not upset about them at all? Lucy shrugs, careful not to dislodge Zoro. They don't scare me, and we won. Zoro smirks, and there's laughter in his gray eyes. Lucy wants to get closer, maybe hug him, yeah. There's a pause, and Lucy is terribly aware of the calluses on his thumb. The way his mouth looks twisted up like this. She unconsciously leans a little closer, close enough to smell him. Blood, steel, and sake, like usual, but also sweat and something strong and masculine. She wants, is this? Are they about to kiss? Is that what's happening right now? Lucy would like to kiss him but she doesn't know what she's doing. Does Zoro know what he's doing? Lucy isn't sure how she feels about that if he does. Actually, Lucy isn't sure how she feels about any of this. Yeah, she wants to kiss Zoro, but not because he was scared and angry earlier, and not because somebody mean decided to try and pick a fight with them. Lucy. Zoro. Usopp calls from the deck. The tension between them snaps and dies, and the moment is broken, if it existed at all. Lucy is both disappointed and relieved. Dinner's ready. On cue, both Lucy's and Zoro's stomachs rumble. Zoro's smirk grows wider, and his eyes flash. Race you, she calls, and they take off simultaneously, falling side by side to the deck. Lucy ultimately wins, but Zoro later insists it's only because she pushed him off the gangplank. I'll get his gold back, Zoro offers. Lucy turns to him, eyes blank with her fury. Zoro loves it when Lucy gets like this, when her whole frame radiates power and authority. Her jaw sets firmly and her hat tips low over her face. He's thought before that her expression alone could raise armies, fell giants. Normally, Zoro loves to watch her do it. However, today Zoro needs to be the one to take care of the bad guy. He needs to, because there's still an anxious, tense feeling in his gut that intensifies whenever he thinks about Bellamy and the threats he made. Talking with Lucy helped. Seeing her, touching her, hearing her thoughts on the bar fight, it all helped calm him, dissolve the fury that kept rising. But while he may not be willing to pursue revenge on Lucy's behalf, Zoro doesn't believe in revenge, and he refuses to fight Lucy's battles for her, even if she wanted him to, in some mysterious alternate universe. He does want to be the one to go take care of this. Lucy must see that, or maybe she just remembers their conversation from earlier, that she promised to remember his feelings, as she put it, because then her expression clears, and her frame relaxes. Well, if you want to. She turns to Cricket, a bright smile on her face. Zoro will get your gold back, don't worry. Cricket groans again, and shakes his head as blood spurts from the wounds. And no, not worth it. Zoro rolls his eyes, because that right there is a load of horse shit, and he starts at an easy jog in the direction of the village. Other way, idiot, Nami hollers after him. She's been in a terrible mood since he got back to the ship. Judging from the way she berates Lucy, Zoro would guess she's still shaken over the bar. It's not like he can blame her. Zoro grumbles, and turns around. Nami crosses her arms under her breasts and glowers. You got 3 hours, do you hear? Don't get lost. Yeah, shut up, witch. Don't you dare refer to Nami-san so foully. Don't worry, Diamond Head, Lucy interrupts cheerfully, a peaceful, confident air to her as she kneels next to the fallen man. We know what that gold means to you. Zoro will get it back no problem. But, just sit tight, old man, Lucy interrupts again. Zoro's got this. The faith and trust there are not unexpected things. But they catch Zoro somewhere low in his chest all the same, and Lucis W all the way to Mocktown. Zoro gave him a chance, he really did. He walked into the bar, said, "Give me the gold or you get cut," and then proceeded to follow through on the promise when Bellamy refused. And now, soaking in a pool of his own blood at Zoro's feet, Bellamy lets out a low groan. He won't die. Zoro's pretty sure of that, anyway. Zoro cut him from hip to shoulder, in a way that isn't so dissimilar to the way Mihawk wounded him almost 2 months ago now. Bellamy is pathetically weak, especially considering all the crap he was spewing earlier. Zoro has no time for it, and no patience besides. Especially since Bellamy started spewing more crap about Lucy right before he attacked. Things like what he thought she'd be like in bed. Things he apparently expected Zoro to listen through again. Maybe it's because he has non-platonic feelings for her. Maybe it's because he wouldn't let that kind of shit pass in any other situation, not even for a total stranger, or maybe it's because Lucy has always seemed so innocent of such things, untainted and unburdened in a way that Zoro wants to protect. Either way, Zoro can't quite let Bellamy's words earlier go, and he knows he won't be able to truly do so unless he confronts the man here. That's why he asked Lucy for this in the first place. You can't do that," Bellamy's first mate screams, the only one of his comrades to step forward. Zoro supposes someone else might credit him with bravery, but Zoro just sees denial. It's pathetic. It's not a sign of strength or loyalty, it's a sign of sniveling cowardice, the mark of a man who doesn't want to admit he picked the losing team. Zoro sends him a glare, and the first mate whimpers. "Go bring me the gold. If you run off with it, I'll kill you." The man whimpers, nods, and runs off. NNGHNN. Zoro steps on Bellamy's hand, grinds his heel into the fragile skin there. Bellamy moans in pain. "Earlier, my captain asked me to stand down, so I did." Zoro growls lowly. "But if I ever hear you, or any of your crew say so much as her name again." Zoro doesn't say anything else, just leaves the threat hanging, knowing that would scare him more. Understand? Bellamy whimpers and makes a frantic nodding motion. "Good." Zoro steps off Bellamy's hand, and the fallen captain curls around his bloody innards. The threat is a relief to Zoro, satisfies something deep inside him. The tension he's been feeling since the bar dissipates with Bellamy's acquiescence. It's something old and visceral, something desperate which demands he protect Lucy. Even though he knows she doesn't need him to protect her, even though he knows she can more than protect herself, something in Zoro still demands it of him. Zoro's never considered himself an especially good person. The fact that he feels such satisfaction at Bellamy's whimpering, and not a little disgust, only confirms that. But even though Zoro still burns a little inside, even though part of him rages at Bellamy's behavior toward Lucy, his honor demands he walk away now. It's easier than he expected. He knows Bellamy will never bother her again. Zoro leaves Bellamy in the dirt and turns to the hesitantly approaching first mate. He's offering the sack of gold and cringing away from Zoro like he's afraid of a blow. Zoro ignores the cowardice and grabs the gold, hefting it over his shoulder. Which way to the old guy's house? If Lucy ever had any doubts about her attraction to Zoro, it is gone the moment she sees his wanted poster. In it, he's covered in dirt, and the world around him is smoking slightly. He has a look in his eye that speaks of bloodlust, and his earrings brush his shoulder. It looks like the cover of one of Dayton's cheesy romance novels, where the men are all super muscular and slightly sweaty. Lucy didn't get the appeal back in Fuchsia, she gets it now. Holy shit, she gets it now. Sure, Lucy sees Zoro every day, but something about the intensity of the picture, the way photo Zoro looks into the camera, speaks of a height of emotion Zoro doesn't usually direct at their nakama. Something in Lucy's brain reinterprets that look as decidedly less violent, but still carnal. "Lucy, why is your face red?" Lucy straightens and tries not to blush. "Nothing." Nami, and everyone else, probably, gives her a weird look. "Right. Well, never mind, we don't have time for this. The knock-em-up current is about to hit, they're climbing to the sky. Water and wind compete with gravity to shoot them up, a huge column of the sea scraping the clouds above. Zoro knows he should be afraid, That he should be questioning every decision he's ever made up to this point. He isn't, though, and he doesn't. He's simply struck with a ridiculous amount of clarity, watching Lucy laugh as she clings to the main mast of their patchwork ship. And they place their lives into Nami's hands as easily as they eat the shitty cook's meals or listen to Usopp lie. This is where I'm meant to be, he thinks as they ascend to heaven, as alive as they were the day they were born, as they would ever be. A step behind her, eyes wide open. Do you believe in God, Zoro? Barely been in the sky for an hour and he's already getting hit with the metaphysical crap? But it's Chopper who's asking, and though Zoro doesn't want to admit it, he's just as powerless against the furry little doctor as the rest of them. Seriously, God help the poor bastard who tries to hurt him. The Straw Hats would show no mercy, especially not Lucy, since Chopper seems to trigger every maternal instinct she has. I don't know if God exists or not, it makes no difference to me. Chopper looks down, which Zoro has come to realize is his "I'm still confused but I'm trying to figure the answer out myself" look. Chopper doesn't have the usual human facial expressions. His body language is a weird combination of reindeer and exuberant human. Learning how to read him took some time for everyone who isn't Lucy. So, what if I do believe in God? Zoro shrugs. That's your choice. It makes no difference to me. I'd never begrudge the people who want to believe. Hell, he himself has been questioning the existence of God a lot more recently, ever since he started following Lucy on her ridiculous adventures. He's come to the conclusion that either Lucy is the luckiest person alive, or God exists and really wants her to be Pirate King. Either way it works out for Zoro. If God doesn't exist, then he becomes the world's greatest swordsman and the Pirate King's first mate. If God does exist, then Zoro still becomes the world's greatest swordsman and the Pirate King's first mate, and maybe he even gets to pass on the guaranteed detour through hell for helping the Chosen One, or whatever. Zoro look, sky food is amazing. Zoro looks up to witness Lucy deboning a fish in a truly impressive and somewhat nauseating flick of her wrist as she drags it through her teeth. If God exists, he has interesting taste, to say the least, but Lucy is far from a bad choice for the Chosen One. When Lucy set sail, she expected to encounter the unknown, to go to places she could never dream of. She imagined snowy plains and strange animals and even whirlpools and 100 other things that could exist in the world, just waiting to be discovered. Lucy never, not in her wildest dreams, thought there might be an island in the sky. This place is amazing, breathtaking, even, the clouds are solid, and even though she still can't swim in them, they're really cool, because the Mary's oars cut through the soupy liquid as easily as they do the sea below. Lucy nearly fell overboard trying to grab a piece of the clouds, and Zoro had to haul her back by her shorts. But now they're at the island, Skypia. It's beautiful, with an idyllic landscape and polite, lovely people. The food is amazing. Lucy could really get used to skyfish, and everything is prettily laid out, like the townspeople made a conscious effort to plan their city's aesthetic. They all wear pastel or neutral colors, with interesting script that must be their writing system on their left side. The women all have intricate hairstyles, and the people here have wings. It's amazing, possibly the most incredible place Lucy has ever been. But then things take a turn, and apparently Lucy is capable of stirring up trouble even in the sky. But, the thing is, none of the trouble she makes is actually trouble. Why are we running? She asks Nami, half confused, half solemn. We didn't do anything wrong. It's not like one of those times Lucy and Ace pulled a dine and dash. This is just arbitrary stuff. Things that don't really matter. Things no one would ever think twice about. That's what they did wrong. Nami doesn't have an answer for her, but they're supposed to leave anyway. And then 4 of her nakama and her ship. What a way to offend a pirate. Are kidnapped and dragged to a forbidden island. Konus and her father are so clearly afraid of that Lucy can't help but feel her ire rise. Nice people like them shouldn't be afraid like that. She wanted to go to that island anyway. The word forbidden made it way too interesting to pass up. But now it's personal, and something about the way they speak of this god makes Lucy's mind flicker with memories from 10 years prior, and a little boy who claimed her as his sister. A little boy murdered in his attempts to free himself by an uncaring person who thought himself God. The similarity leaves a bad taste in her mouth, makes her a little more anxious to get to her nakama. Then a blue beam of destruction nearly destroys her and Konus. a girl who felt guilty for leading them to what she believed to be their doom. Lucis never had much patience for men who believe themselves God. It's genuinely kind of impressive how fast they go from exploring unseen lands in the freaking sky and figuring out how to walk on clouds, to trekking through jungles and human sacrifices. Zoro thinks they might have set a record on this one. But, oh well, this isn't anything too unusual for them anyway. Zoro will admit, however, that throwing an impromptu party with a random pack of wolves is a little out there, even by Straw Hat standards. Despite himself, he's a little impressed at how well Robin is taking their nonsense. This is kind of her first adventure with them, after all, and they dragged her to the sky. It's possible Robin was quite serious when she said she didn't care if she lived or died, back in Alabasta. Zoro can't think of another reason any sane person would agree to come on this particular adventure without having witnessed the absolute force of nature Lucy is a few times over. Then again, it's not like any of the Straw Hats are anything close to sane. Like him, Robin seems to prefer staying on the sidelines during festivities like this. Zoro doesn't dance, but he does drink. And these wolves are surprisingly good at holding their liquor. Nami seems to be enjoying it as well, and Zoro is keeping an eye on her to make sure she doesn't do anything she normally wouldn't, like, say, kiss the cook. The other 4 members of the crew have been dancing all night. Zoro's kind of surprised they have any energy left. Well, not when it comes to Lucy, but the other 3 have to be tired. They all fought priests today, and climbed several thousand meters by boat. Zoro frankly isn't sure how any of them are even breathing at the moment. Sencho seems to be having fun. Robin comments from over his left shoulder. Zoro only realizes then that he may have been staring at his captain's hips a little too intently while she danced. He isn't drunk, no swordsman is ever unaware, but he is a little buzzed. It might be a little harder to repress certain feelings than usual, especially since the thing at the bar was only yesterday. They'd talked, everything was fine now, especially since he got to cut Bellamy in the end, but, well. Zoro might feel a little more possessive than usual. Lucy isn't very graceful, is she? Nami interjects, a sly grin on her face. Zoro raises an eyebrow. This is new? That's not entirely fair. Lucy can be graceful in the way a drummer can be graceful sometimes, and her sheer agility is second to none. But she's far from the refined elegance of Robin or the carefully crafted facades Nami puts on to trick gullible men. Lucy is just herself. Zoro kind of prefers it that way. Nami snorts. At least you two won't have an idolization problem. Zoro coughs on his ale. What? Nami can answer. Are you going to ask her to dance, Swordsman-kun? Zoro splutters. What? No, his face is not turning red, and if it is, it's from the alcohol. I don't dance. And this isn't a song where you do that sort of thing anyway. And at that very moment, like the universe is conspiring against him, the music changes to something slow and sweet. Robin smiles, and it looks fake even though Zoro knows it's not. I think the party is winding down. These things usually end with a partner dance or two. And sure enough, all the wolves are pairing off, leaving 3 bewildered humans and 1 reindeer looking around in surprise. Wait, why do the wolves slow dance, anyway? Are wolves even a monogamous species? Nami giggles, and maybe hiccups a bit. Oh look, I think Sanji-kun is going to ask Lucy to dance. Zoro's head whips up so fast he almost cricks his neck. Sure enough, Lucy is standing in the middle of the crowd with a frown of confusion dangerously close to a pout on her face. She looks like she wants to dance. Sanji, the no-good love cook, is making his way over to her with a disgusting expression on his face. At that moment, Zoro processes 4 things. 1. Lucy wants to dance. 2. Sanji is going to ask Lucy to dance. 3. Lucy is going to say yes, because Lucy is Lucy and will think nothing of it. 4. Zoro does not want Lucy to dance with Sanji. Before he really knows what he's doing, Zoro slides off his perch and leaves his drink behind. He hears Nami giggle, but ignores it, despite the embarrassment. Luckily, Zoro is actually a lot closer to his captain than the cook is, and beats him to her by about 30 meters, even while dodging the dancing, bipedal wolves. Seriously, the shit he sees traveling with Lucy just gets weirder and weirder. It's when he closes in on her position, gets about 5 feet from her, that he realizes he has no idea how to ask her to dance. Zoro has never once attempted to do this before. Occasionally he would get offers from girls and sometimes men in various bars, but he always declined. Does he just ask her? Does he hedge around it a bit? This is really the type of thing she would usually initiate, but she wouldn't have asked this time because Zoro was sitting out, as is his preference. While he's thinking about it, Lucy turns around and spots him. She grins. There's something about the way the firelight casts shadows on her face, the way her hair swishes lower than it used to, past her chin now, brushing her shoulders, and the way the freckled skin crinkles around her eyes that knocks Zoro's breath away. How is he supposed to ask her to dance? He can barely think around her sometimes. Zoro, she holds out her hand, enthusiastic, wanna dance? Oh, well, that was easier than expected. He takes her hand. I guess, he agrees, like he didn't storm out here to ask her that exact thing. Lucy looks a little surprised. Probably didn't expect him to agree so easily, but then she beams and steps closer, so their chests nearly touch. Zoro doesn't know a lot about dancing, but he is pretty sure he's supposed to do something, lead. How the fuck does he lead? What does that even mean? It's a really good thing Lucy seems just as lost and clueless as he is. She just flings her arms around his neck and presses her face to his chest, like a hug. But then her elbows slide down, so her interlaced fingers settle at his nape. That feels different than a hug. Zoro takes a chance and rests one hand on her waist and the other on the small of her back, because that seems like the most comfortable place for both of them. He didn't mean for it to be intimate, but, well, Lucy is perpetually showing off her midriff, and today is no exception, so his hands settle on soft, smooth skin, and it sends his heart racing, just a little bit. I can't dance, he admits. Lucy just presses a little closer. Neither can I. The music they're playing is a simple 3-beat ballad. It takes a little doing, but they eventually figure out they can just shuffle in a little circle in time to the music. Zoro figures that's about all anyone could possibly expect from him. This is nice. Really nice, actually. Zoro doesn't initiate physical contact with Lucy often. When he does, it's usually because something bad is happening, like when he shared his jacket with her sailing to Drum. He likes being able to hold her close like this. Likes being able to smell the sea and wind and spice in her hair and not feel guilty because she's crying or otherwise upset. Geez, she's so tiny. His hand spans her waist easily. It's hard to believe she's as strong as she is. Holding her like this, it feels like he could break her in two with minimal effort, but she also fits so securely Zoro can't quite stop marveling at it. Lucy distracts him from his thoughts by sliding one hand down to his chest and fingering the hair on the nape of his neck with the other. It presses her just a bit closer, her hips shifting into his a little more intimately, and Zoro nearly stumbles at the change. He has to adjust his hands and both end up on her back, one above the other, and it presses her impossibly closer, leaves him wrapped around her. Lucy doesn't seem to mind at all, and sighs contentedly. This is nice, Zoro. Zoro coughs. Yeah, it is. Zoro feels her grin into his chest. In response, Zoro rests his chin on her head, and Lucy wastes no time pressing her nose to his collarbone just that little bit more. God, does she have any idea what this is doing to his brain? He's going to dream about this. For months, assuming they live that long. She can't be oblivious, right? She can't. Except this is Lucy, so, yeah, that's totally possible. She's incredibly adept at reading people, which is why she comes off eccentric rather than loony, but due to what Zoro has come to realize was a fairly isolated childhood, she has weird gaps in her social behavior and knowledge. But what if she isn't? What if she knows and keeps doing this to say she wants more, that she's? Zoro still doesn't know what his feelings really mean, only that they're not going away, and if anything they're growing stronger. Zoro's not stupid, he knows they're not platonic emotions. He just isn't sure how to distinguish between attraction and lust, and something else. And Zoro won't risk his and Lucy's relationship on uncertainty. But now, a thought sparks in his mind, a faint hope he hasn't even let himself consider up until this very moment. What if she feels the same, with the way she feels in his arms? It's very easy to imagine she does. Zoro doesn't know what to do with that. He's never had a relationship before. He's fairly certain the same goes for Lucy. More importantly, how would their being in a relationship affect life at sea? Would it damage Lucy's image as a captain? He knows their nakama wouldn't care. But what about enemies, everyone else? Would they use their feelings against them? Zoro doesn't know. He cares too much to risk it. The song ends, and reluctantly, Zoro releases his captain. Lucy steps back and smiles brilliantly at him. The ache of want that clutches his chest surprises him with its intensity. It's like a physical need. But it isn't, and so he smirks back. She takes his hand in hers and he almost pulls her close again. But he's used to these gestures from her, tactile overtures that should have a larger connotation, that on anyone else he'd interpret as an invitation. But with Lucy it always seems like they're delivered without intent. She wants to hold his hand, so she does. She wants to hug him, so she does. It doesn't mean anything greater than that with her. So Zoro swallows down his impulses, his desires, and leads her back to Nami and Robin. The party winds down and eventually she falls asleep on his shoulder, cheek stretched against his arm and mouth wide open. He can't stop staring at her after Nami presses his who knows how many tankard in his hand. He catalogues the way her breath raises her bangs, the way she shuffles closer to him every so often, grips his if he shifts away from her too far. It doesn't satisfy the ache, or the confusing torrent of emotions and rationalizations that fill him whenever she pushes their physical boundaries just that little bit more, but it's close enough that the longing turns sweet, maybe hopeful, and he thinks I want this. I want this for longer than tonight. Zoro, for the first time in his memory, tries to sleep and can't. Honestly, Lucy isn't too sure how she got in the snake in the first place, but now she's finally out. Yes, she crows, the little girl Nami brought scrambling after her. Lucy's pretty sure her name is Isa, or something. She looks around, trying to get her bearings. Despite the setback, it looks like she actually managed to get to the ruins after all. Huh, lucky break. She turns, intending to go look for her nakama, particularly Nami, who seemed pretty freaked out earlier, and then sees. Her breath hitches, her chest seizing. It can't be. Lucy halfway to the prone body before she can even think. It is. Zoro, she shouts when she closes in. He looks scorched, like someone tried to set him on fire. Zoro. He doesn't stir. Terrified, she grabs his shoulders, pulls him into her lap, and presses her ear to his chest. She nearly cries when she hears a heartbeat. It's irregular and thready, but it's there. He's alive. Zoro, who did this? She whispers, not really expecting an answer. It's then that she looks around, notices the other bodies on the ground. Who could have done this while you were here? One of the bodies is Robin. Zoro is alive, and if he's alive he's going to be fine. He's Zoro. Reluctantly, she sets him down, and goes to her other nakama. Robin, too, is incredibly weak. But she's weak and awake, and that makes all the difference. Robin, what happened? She wraps an arm behind her nakama and supports her so she can breathe. The older woman coughs, and Lucy winces in sympathy with the crackling wheeze that fills her lungs. God Eneru. Robin shakes her head, and some of the terror leaves her eyes. He kidnapped Navigator San. Lucy's throat goes dry. She needs you. Eneru is more than anyone else can handle. Lucy feels almost frozen in her fury. Robin hasn't ever been this scared. She wasn't this scared when she thought she was going to die beneath Alubarna. This man, Lucy refuses to call him God. He hurt her nakama. He scared them, her brave and brilliant crew, so badly that Robin is still shaking. He took her navigator. Lucy wasn't around to protect them the first time around. It's her duty as captain to protect them now. Lucy squeezes Robin's hand. I'll get her back. A faint smile curls Robin's lips as her eyes slide shut. Yes, Sencho. It's as she suspected. Eneru is no god, not of any kind. He's a man with delusions about his own power. And maybe he's powerful up here in the sky, but down in the Grand Line he would be less than a footnote in history. But it seems that his attacks on the others and his audacious language scared her navigator something terrible. Lucy isn't sure why this guy is having such an effect on her, why her navigator can't stop trembling, why she looks so pale, and why her eyes are so wide in terror. Nami can't stop worrying, can't seem to stop her genius brain from running through all the horrible ways this could go wrong. Lucy takes her hat, her treasure with 1,000 promises associated, and tosses it to Nami. Stop making such a pitiful face, she chides. Nami's expression goes blank. You're friends with the future Pirate King. And finally, Nami does what she should have from the beginning. She places her trust in Lucy, in her friends, and, now that she's taken care of her nakama, Lucy turns her attention back to Eneru. Back home the priests speak of God. Lucy tells Eneru, who cocks his head like he's sure she's about to start singing his praises. He's not something of this plane. Lucy smirks, her fists clenching. You're no god, Eneru, and you're especially not the Almighty. I know because you can be touched. Eneru nearly spits in his fury. I am God. You're a man, Lucy counters, calm. He's like Bellamy, like all those people who think conquering and domination is real power. He is beneath her and her friends, for all he might live in the sky. And I'm going to kick your ass for hurting my crew. Nami's back, mentally and physically, and the first thing she does is agree to carry Lucy up to the bell. Lucy loves Nami. Her arm hurts. Lucy is sure there's something wrong with it, but ever since she heard the City of Gold is here on Skypia, she hasn't been able to stop thinking about the men who helped them back on Jaya, who search the ocean floor to the point of illness for a treasure they don't know exists. Lucy knows it exists. Lucy knows it's here on Skypia, where they will never find it in the depths below. She has to tell them. She's going to ring that bell, and Eneru's too. The gold ball is inconvenient and painful, but it's a blessing in disguise. Eneru gave her the tool she needs to win. How dare you destroy my advent? Eneru shouts. He sounds like a child throwing a tantrum. You are a sinner who commits crimes against me. Lucy screws her arm back, twisting it so the ball will have more torque when it flies. Are you still on about that? She screams, flying toward the man so fast her eyes water. If you were God you could stop me. That enrages Eneru, and as she approaches he thrusts his molten spear. It hits, embeds itself in her side, but the golden ball behind her is still there. She can't feel her right hand, but she doesn't care. And she twists her arm just that little bit more, pushing behind her for those precious millimeters of recoil. It strains her shoulders, the ball is heavy and she's been dragging it around for a while. And she glowers at him as the tension winds higher, higher, higher. What will you do? He crows, a toddler allowed to play with matches. Will you fall out of the sky? Will you try to hit the bell anyway? Lucy has too much adrenaline in her system to feel the pain of his trident fully. But the ache is getting worse and the constant run of electricity makes the metal hot and pricks her skin. You know how I knew you weren't God, even before we met? Lucy grunts, thinking of the horrible blue beam of light that nearly killed Conus, the fear on her face and the fear of the Skypian people. Lucy leans back until her shoulder screams. You're not a good person. Eneru's lips curl in disgust. But Lucy doesn't wait for him to respond. Gomu Gomu no bazooka, gold pistol. The bell rings, and it's the sweetest song Lucy's ever heard. She hopes everyone can hear it. Maybe even God. Zoro wakes. Everything hurts. Being struck by lightning is unpleasant, apparently, and has lingering side effects. He's a bit shaky, and he can't quite grip as tight as he usually does. He was totally right about occasions where he has to worry about Nami. They suck. He managed to cut the stock though, so Lucy could ring the bell. He wants to hear her ring the bell. He gets to his knees, and Robin is nearby but she isn't looking at him. She's looking to the sky, an expression of wonder on her face. It's not just me, she whispers, eyes wide and fixed on the sky. Zoro has no idea what she's talking about. It's not just me. Come on, Brad, ring it. Behind him, the gorilla growls. Zoro catches a glint of gold, the echo of a scream that sounds like Nami, and sees a flash of red against the dark gray of the sky. Lightning strikes, one last time, and then, a bell rings, clear and gong-like, and it echoes so loud and low Zoro feels it in his chest. Zoro doesn't know much about the history of this land, and the passion with which the people here fight over it is strange to him, but there's something about the ring of the golden bell that makes him think, oh, that's what this is all about. Beautiful, Wiper whispers, and Zoro thinks he might be crying. It's beautiful. Zoro can only agree. After convening at the ship, a panicked Nami dragged a near-delirious Lucy straight to Chopper. Apparently Lucy stayed mostly coherent right up until they both touched down, and then the accumulated injuries started to kick in. Zoro is just surprised she managed that long, to be honest. Chopper came out several hours ago to inform them that Lucy would be okay, but that her wounds are serious. He hadn't had much beyond that, because he had to get back to treating her. So, hours later, the Straw Hats are collectively sitting outside the infirmary and fretting over their captain. Sanji keeps compulsively listing what meals he will feed her when she wakes. Nami won't stop staring at Lucy's hat, delicately grasped in her hands, and Usopp is regaling a Robin too anxious to read with a story told a little too loudly, and not quite as outlandishly as Usopp's stories generally are. It's night now. Lucy went inside with Chopper 6 hours ago. Zoro stands, and 4 heads whip around at his sudden movement. Zoro supposes that's what he gets for not moving or speaking for 6 hours. "Love cook," he calls. Sanji's eyes don't even narrow. "Make some food for everyone. I'm going to check on Chopper, see if he needs anything." Sanji's eyebrows twitch, but he doesn't protest. Instead he turns to the girls, to ask them what they want. Neither give very enthusiastic answers. Gently, Zoro knocks on the door, hoping he doesn't startle the little reindeer. "Come in," Chopper calls, and Zoro represses a sigh of relief. He opens the door, and pokes his head in hesitantly. "Sanji is making dinner. You want anything?" Chopper looks torn. "I shouldn't eat while I work." Zoro nods. "How's it going?" Chopper gives him a tired but happy look. "She's doing well. If it was anyone else, I'd be amazed at her ability to even move, but," Chopper shrugs, half exasperated, half helpless. "She had third-degree burns on her right arm, where the gold ball was attached. Most of what I've had to do is remove the remaining chunks of half-melted metal from her arm. I'd normally say she's looking at several months of recovery, but because it's her, maybe 4 or 5 days before she's better. A week tops. I finished removing the metal and I treated the burns, so now all I need to do is dress the wound in her side." Zoro nods, and even though he wants to stay, he doesn't ask and turns to leave. "Inform the others." "Actually, Zoro, I could use your help. The wound is on her side, so it'll be easier if I have someone holding her up." Zoro is not going to turn down an opportunity to not feel useless. "Sure." Chopper smiles at him, and nods to the sink. "Wash your hands and put on gloves first." Zoro updates the others first, and then does as he's told. Then takes a deep breath and turns around. He's been avoiding looking at her this whole time. She looked so small earlier, and he doesn't want to think about her that way. Now he has no choice, and he stands over his captain as she lays prone on the table in the center of the room. She's been wearing a black shirt, midriff always showing, and red shorts since they came to Skypia yesterday, with a red bracelet and armband she apparently stole from Usopp and Sanji. Her black hair is mussed, fanned out around her head, and her face is mostly covered by a gas mask. It was probably there to keep her sedated during surgery. Her right arm is bandaged from the shoulder down to her fingertips, and looks a little longer than it should be, like it's a bit distended. There's also a hole in Lucy's side, jagged, like the tip was ripped out with force. But it's weird. Lucy wasn't covered in blood earlier. Her clothes are in tatters, and she looked terrible, but there wasn't any blood, so. How did her wound cauterize? She didn't do that herself, did she? Chopper's face falls. "I'm not sure, but judging from the burns, I think Eneru melted gold and stabbed her with it. The continued shocks of lightning superheated the gold. That's the only explanation I can come up with. It's a nasty wound. Actually, this is the most seriously she's been injured since he started sailing with her. She's going to be okay, right?" Chopper smiled at this. "Just give her a few days. I doubt she'll even have a scar from the burns, considering how well she heals." Zoro feels relief unfurl in him. He slides his hands under Lucy's shoulders and waist, and lifts, leaning her left shoulder into his chest like she's sitting up. The wound is on her right side, so Chopper should be able to reach it like this. Chopper smiles at him, and reaches for a bowl with crushed paste and a pestle in it. "Thanks, Zoro. You're a really good alpha, you know?" "No problem," he mutters, distracted by inspecting the electrical burns he sees spiraling from Lucy's wound. Then Zoro blinks, and processes more of what Chopper just said. "Wait, what?" Chopper seems completely unaware of anything unusual happening. He just spreads the paste into Lucy's wound. "You're a good alpha. You know, for taking care of Lucy and the rest of us like this." What the hell is he even supposed to say to something like that? "That's my job." Yeah, that was good enough. He's the first mate, he's supposed to take care of the crew and his captain. Chopper nods. I know, you and Lucy make a really good alpha pair. I was a little confused at first, because it seemed like you took more alpha female roles than Lucy, and that was kinda weird. But then I realized you guys just share roles evenly. Although Lucy leads more than most alpha females, but that's because she's the captain. Zoro has to fight not to drop Lucy. Seriously, what the fuck? This is the weirdest thing Chopper has ever said. This might be the weirdest thing anyone has ever said. Chopper, Zoro searches for a nice way to say, what the fuck, I'm not sure what you mean by any of that. Chopper pauses in his ministrations and looks at him. Huh? But, then his eyes widen. Oh, I forgot. Humans don't have packs. Chopper, Zoro says with extraordinary patience, you're a human. Yeah, but I'm also a reindeer. Do you know how weird it is to have two sets of instincts when one species is prey and the other is a predator? It's weird. Which, in a weird way, that made all of this make sense. If Chopper's brain is hardwired to form groups, like a herd, it makes sense that having human instincts would confuse his brain into trying to form a group that's more predatory, like a wolf pack. Zoro is so uncomfortable with this conversation. Yeah, I bet. So you've been assigning pack designations to us? Chopper seems abashed. Yes. I'm sorry. It's just, well, it seems obvious. Zoro doesn't really know what to say to that, and Chopper continues, heedless of his discomfort. You and Lucy are the alpha mating pair, and Sanji and Nami aren't a pair but they're both alphas. Robin is a beta, and Usopp and I are omegas. This is so weird. Wait, why do you think Lucy and I are? Chopper wraps the first layer of gauze around Lucy's waist. Well, you are, aren't you? What? No, Chopper pauses, and looks terribly confused. But, you guys smell like each other. Like all the time. I guess not like you're actively mating. But I always thought you just don't want kids right now. And sometimes you guys nap together. And your pheromones. Oh god, Zoro does not want to hear about pheromones. We're not. Together, that is. Chopper looks almost disappointed. Oh. Then his face screws up, and the little blue nose wrinkles a little and says with a surprising degree of conviction. Well then, you should be. Zoro nearly chokes. Chopper. What? Chopper sounds like he just discovered the earth is flat. Actually, he sounds like he might cry. You guys are a good pair. I feel safe with you guys. Oh, Chopper, just because Lucy and I aren't together doesn't mean we aren't going to continue sailing on the Mary. And yeah, maybe Zoro wants to be with her, possibly, he doesn't know, but that's not relevant here. But packs always need, we're not a pack, Chopper. Chopper seems utterly lost. Humans don't have packs, but we do. Zoro fumbles, and sincerely hopes no one ever discovers he said this, especially the cook. Humans have nakama. And we, everyone on the Mary, we're nakama. Chopper looks like someone gave him a whole new set of medical instruments. Oh, so how does that work? Everybody does their best, and we kick butt when there are butts toy. Lucy usually claims the biggest butt to kick for herself, because she's the captain. Unless he has swords. Then he's mine. Chopper doesn't look entirely satisfied, but he doesn't look hopelessly lost. Oh. I can do that. Zoro holds back a sigh of relief while Chopper finishes the wrapping around Lucy's waist. Then Chopper sits back and peers at him. Are you sure you're not an alpha? You're very good at being one? Fuck. I'm sure. Lucy. The girl in question looks up from the plate Sanji prepared for her. Apparently, a girl gets a stab wound and few third-degree burns and suddenly her cook redoubles his already extraordinary efforts at making her meals. And grins at her navigator. Nami, she greets. It's evening and Lucy's a little tired, but Chopper finally agreed to let her out of the infirmary. Lucy squints at her navigator. Actually, she looks a little pale. What's wrong? Nami bites her lip and takes a seat next to Lucy. The sun set an hour ago and the celebrating Skypians and Chandrians wasted no time getting a fire started in the middle of the ruins. Lucy sets her plate down, a sacrifice, since Sanji's skyfish palia is still only half eaten, and waits for the redhead to speak. About Eneru, Nami hesitates. I'm sorry, for the way I acted when he kidnapped me. Lucy cocks her head to the side. As she recalls, Nami was scared out of her mind at the time and, once recovered, drove Lucy up a falling beanstalk on the off chance Lucy would be able to punch him. What do you mean? Nami looks frustrated and glances away. When Eneru beat the others, I didn't fight back. Nam swallows in shame. I even volunteered to go with him. I didn't want to, she protests, but the incredible difference in power between me and him, even between the others and him, I was scared. And I didn't really fight back until you showed up on his boat. Lucy studies Nami carefully. Her navigator looks like she's waiting for a reprimand or something. Lucy never asked about Arlong, about what he did to her and her village, but from the things she's mentioned herself and things the rest of the crew have let slip, she knows it was bad. She knows that the conditions Nami lived under for 8 years were very close to slavery. Lucy's not a doctor, not of any kind. But she can guess that leaves a certain level of mental scarring on a person, no matter how strong he or she is. And Nami is strong, she's on Lucy's crew, after all. But Nami also has one of the strongest fight or flight reflexes Lucy has ever encountered. Nami is a survivor above all other things. And Lucy can guess how terrified she must have been when Eneru approached her. She couldn't defeat him. Nami isn't strong the way Lucy is strong. And with all other options closed to her, Lucy can guess she chose the only option she thought available to her if she was going to live. Lucy also knows that Nami currently hates herself for that decision. Next time you will, Lucy tells her easily. Nami's head whips around and her eyes look wide and a little shiny. Then she smiles, a little wobblily, and gives one sharp nod, of course. Lucy grins back. As if she'd ever be mad at one of her nakama for not being able to beat someone. That's what they have Lucy for. I know that's not exactly how the Skypia fight ended. Luffy gets speared with Eneru's trident, and then he falls back but uses the cloud he left Nami on to spring up again and ring his clock. This was easier to write, and also I liked the flow better. Sorry Oda. They're approaching round 3. Round 3, and they don't have a single point on the board yet. They lose this, and they lose Chopper for good. This whole contest is stupid. But after the last round Zoro at least gets why Lucy agreed to this dumb Davy back fight. Trust his captain to risk everything to save some dude's horse she met literally that morning. It makes him weirdly proud of her, if he's telling the truth. Lucy's always had a knack for keeping her eye on what's most important when it counts. Doesn't mean she's not an idiot sometimes though. He still can't believe she asked to be in 2 rounds when she can't even skate. Zoro squints at her while she tries to stand on the inside lane of the track. She can't lift herself more than 6 inches off the ground before losing her feet. No, use your hips more to balance. Lucy looks up at him through her lashes. She's pouting. It's not fair that she gets to look like that when she's been a dumbass. I didn't think skating would be this hard, she whines. Zoro just shakes his head. If she doesn't figure this out soon they're going to lose their shot at taking Chopper back. And, because Zoro knows Lucy very well, he's pretty certain that's going to mean following Foxy's ship indefinitely until the asshole either agrees to another Davy back fight or hands Chopper over out of irritation. Lucy will never demand Chopper back outright, because she's the type to honor her agreements, but nothing in the rules says anything about her irritating him into giving her doctor back. So, to save everyone involved the harassment, irritation, and stress of that arrangement, Zoro resolves to teach her to skate. Or at least stand on her skates. To be honest, he'll take what he can get. Lucy, apparently, has no time for his pessimism, because she's already struggling to stand again. Like this? She asks, wobbling in a painful-looking squat. She's sticking her tongue out in concentration. It's ridiculously distracting. Zoro sighs. Use the toe in one foot to steady yourself, and push yourself up through your hips. Lucy's forehead wrinkles, and her pink tongue pokes out between her lips in concentration. Geez, he's supposed to be mad at her, damn it. Not thinking about his recently less easily repressed attraction to her. Lucy gets about halfway up this time, before falling back on her rear. Zoro frowns down at her. Use your hips more. Lucy scowls, and somehow that also looks cuter than usual today. It's gotta be something about the jersey, sheesh. I did. Not enough. Lucy pouts at him, and then brightens. Show me. Zoro thinks about it for a second. Well, maybe if she figures out how standing works with his help she'll be able to feel it on her own. Yeah, it's probably worth a shot. Zoro's pretty sure he's a shitty teacher. He offers her a hand, and when she takes it, he helps her balance on the way up. They get far enough that she locks her legs with her feet spread apart, which looks pretty odd considering she's still half leaning on Zoro's hand, but whatever, she's standing. Okay, now just shift your hips back. It should be easier to balance when you bend your knees, like sitting in a chair. Lucy wobbles, bends one knee, and nearly topples over. Zoro grabs her hips with both hands before she can go sprawling again, stepping behind her to keep an even grip. Lucy freezes instantly, and she would have lost her feet entirely had Zoro not been holding her up. Pay attention, he chides. Lucy nods. Her face is kinda red. Weird. Now bend your knees, and use your hips more. Lucy hesitates, but they don't have time for that, so Zoro tugs on her hips a little to maneuver her into the right position. Lucy squeaks, and nearly falls again. Oi, pay attention. That's a little rich coming from him today, but, well, no one can call him a hypocrite if they don't actually know he's a hypocrite. He is currently trying very hard not to notice how it feels to hold her like this, but he's acutely aware of the fact that this moment is searing itself in his memory and is unlikely to go anywhere. Sorry, she mumbles. Then a little louder, let's, try again? Zoro nods, not that she can see it, and, a little gentler this time, tugs her hips down and back so she's in the correct skating position. Lucy wobbles for a second, but then she corrects her ankle and she stabilizes. Zoro lets go slowly, and she stays upright. I did it, she crows. Zoro, I did it. Zoro rolls his eyes because it's stupid to feel proud of her when she's been such a dumbass. Oi, is this really the time for that? You too? Usopp yells from the starting line. Zoro looks up, confused. What are you talking about? I'm teaching her how to skate. This is literally the best possible time for this. Usopp gives him a disbelieving stare. Actually, so does every one of the Foxy skaters. And the people in the stands. Even Chopper is giving him a look through his sniffling. Robin, I don't understand, Nami whines, looking for all the world like she'd like to beat something with a brick. Possibly her own head. How can two people be so dumb in the exact same way? What are they so cranky about? Lucy queries. Then she falls over, and Zoro wonders what it is he sees in this girl. Oh, Lucy. Your hair is getting long. Lucy blinks at Nami from across the dining table, and then reaches up to inspect her hair. Usually she keeps it pretty short, in the interests of practicality. It's not exactly long now, brushing around her shoulders, but it is longer than it's been in years. Huh, weird. She figured with all the adventures they've been having there would be at least one occasion in which chopping off her hair would be appropriate or necessary. Happened all the time in the forest back home. Hey Zoro, she calls. The swordsman peers at her from over his cup. Can I borrow a katana? Several people around the table look more than a little panicked. What do you need a sword for? Nami screeches. She looks confused too. Lucy's not sure what she's confused about. For my hair. Nami's eyes widen. You want to use a sword? Lucy blinks. I usually just hack it off with a knife. Or a rock. Or that one time where she used a shard of glass. She turns back to the swordsman, and remembers he doesn't like people messing with his katana. If you want you can just do it yourself. Zoro shrugs. Sure. Matter settled. Lucy goes back to her pasta. Lucy, I'm not sure that's the greatest idea, Nami says slowly, like she's trying not to scare a rabbit. Oh, matter not settled. Huh? I know. How about I give you a haircut after dinner? We can even do a makeover. Robin can help. Lucy glances at Zoro, bewildered. He seems supremely uninterested in whether or not he's going to be a hairdresser, so it's not like Nami's objecting because she's worried about his feelings. Why would I need a makeover? She asks, a bit confused. Nami's expression changes instantly from earnest to guilty, her voice a bit softer than normal. Oh, Lucy, you don't. That's not what makeovers are just, you know, fun, girl stuff. Actually, Lucy didn't. She's never had any female friends before. She had Makino and Deiden, but Deiden is the least feminine person Lucy has ever met, including Zoro and Makino the most. Lucy didn't really take her cues on life from either extreme, she's just herself. I've never participated in one before, Robin adds. She has that light in her eye that she sometimes does when thinking about transcribing the everyday habits of perfectly ordinary humans for future generations. I think it would be fun. Lucy gets the feeling that fun, in this case, means performing immersive research on the bonding and hygiene habits of females from East Blue, but whatever, Robin's weird like that. And, well, since they seem way more invested in this than either her or Zoro or in the hacking plan, I guess that's fine. Thanks anyway, Zoro. Zoro shrugs, and goes back to listening to Chopper tell him about a book he's reading. Great, Nami cheers. We can do it tonight. And are till more than a little confused about why this is such a big deal, and goes back to devouring a pork bun. She actually forgets about it until later that evening, when she heads to the cabin for bed, only to see Nami and Robin sitting up and chatting. It's not necessarily weird, but usually Nami would be dead to the world around this time, and Robin reads late into the night, possibly until her eyes refuse to move. Lucy doesn't know, Robin is weird. Oh, Lucy, come here and sit on the stool, so I can cut your hair. We'll do that first since it's most important. Nami has a pair of shearing scissors in her hand. Lucy vaguely recalls Makino cutting her hair when she was very, very small, before she figured out what knives were and how to use them without stabbing herself. It's been a while though, and she feels weirdly off-center when she kneels on the pillow. Nami, you know how to cut hair? Nami snorts. You're going to let that brute come after your hair with a katana. And now you're worried about how it looks. Lucy shrugs. Nami shakes her head, but it seems fond. Belmir-san taught me and Najiko when we were young. We started cutting each other's hair as we got older. Do you want it your original length? By your mouth? Lucy flashes her a grin in the little mirror she set up. She feels touched. Yes please. Alright, sit still. Lucy does as she's told. Nami's scary on a good day. But now she has scissors. So neither of you have ever done a makeover before? I was wanted by the world government from the age of 8 and previously had no friends. I was raised by bandits. That explains so much. Nami sounds exasperated, but her fingers card gently through Lucy's hair. It feels nice, but Lucy is a little self-conscious, which isn't normal for her at all. I think I'll cut it dry. Tilt your chin down, Lucy. It's cool that you know all this girl stuff, Nami. Oh, you learn a thing or two here. A thing or two there. The scissors snip softly behind her. Actually, Lucy didn't know. She spent the entirety of the first 17 years of her life on a mountain filled with bloodthirsty monsters of unusual size, mouses. And in a tiny little village where people mostly only tolerated her, and in a deadly forest living with bandits. In fact, Nami and Robin are the only girls Lucy has spent any significant time with who weren't her guardians. She always palled around with the boys. She fit in with them better anyway, preferred roughhousing to anything else. Lucy finds both her friends kind of odd. She's always been told, explicitly or not, that strength is masculine and femininity is weak. Deiden, after all, was the strongest member of the Deiden family, but she acts like a man 90% of the time. The one time she asked about it, Deiden threw her into a tree and then gave her a long explanation which basically amounted to, men are assholes, and sometimes you gotta act like a man to gain their respect. Makino is brave and kind, but she's not strong the way a pirate king is strong, and she's too meek for Lucy to use her as a role model for herself. But that's not the case with Robin or Nami. They're both strong, and they're both pretty feminine, especially in Nami's case. It kind of makes Lucy curious, in a way she's never been before, to try things she once deemed too girly. Nami makes quick work of the hair, and soon Lucy finds herself looking in a mirror while Nami explains what she did. It looks like her normal hair to Lucy, but a bit less jagged and a great deal more even on the sides. She smiles up at Nami, who has her hands proudly anchored at her hips. Thanks, Nami. It looks good. A thought occurs to Lucy. Oh, did you want me to try cutting your hair? It didn't look long. But maybe because Nami wore her hair up so often it was hard to tell? Nami freezes for a second, and then relaxes. Actually, Vivi and I both received haircuts from her royal hairdresser back in Alabasta. You were unconscious or I would have brought you along. I should be good for another few weeks. Lucy grins at her and then turns to look at her newest crew member. And you, Robin? The archaeologist gives a small smile. My devil fruit has a useful, if mundane, application in this area. Lucy thinks about that for a second. Convenient. Lucy turns back to the mirror. Nami is really good at this, she almost looks pretty. Involuntarily, she wonders if Zoro will like it. What are you thinking about there? Nami asks, her voice teasing. It's only then that Lucy realizes she's blushing. Nothing. Nami and Robin share a look. Lucy, I think it's time to introduce you to something called girl talk. Despite knowing, somehow, that this is a trap, Lucy can't quite quell her curiosity. What's that? Nami grins, and that's the smile Lucy knows she should run from. It's where you spill all the secrets that boys are too dumb to understand to other girls who can properly commiserate. Lucy tries to think of something she wouldn't share with her male nakama. Nothing comes to mind. Like what? Nami looks very close to smacking her forehead with her palm. Like, for instance, who someone likes. Then adds, as in romantically. Oh, I don't think I want to talk about that, Lucy squeaks, quickly leaning away from the redhead and her fists. Nami rests her hands on her hips, and rolls her eyes. Please, it's not like we don't all know you like Zoro. Lucy freezes in place. Everybody knows. Navigator-san. I think Lucy might feel more comfortable on a different subject. Nami inspects Lucy, and whatever she sees makes her expression turn a little guilty. Alright, sorry I asked. Does Zoro know? Lucy asks quietly. It's harder, now, to keep her feelings in check than it was. She's starting to get even more tactile with him, crave his attention more than before, and she wants to spend time with him constantly. She's starting to realize she's maybe not as content as she thought she was with the status quo. But if Zoro knows how she feels already and hasn't done anything about it, maybe he's trying to spare her feelings. That's kind of unlike him, not confronting something like that, but he's the only one who doesn't, that dumbass. Relief and something like disappointment collide in her chest. That's good. That's very good. But it's also, well, something in Lucy wants him to know, wants him to respond. She thinks of how his hands feel around her waist, how they're so broad they span her back, and how warm she felt in Skypia when they danced, how hot she felt yesterday when Zoro taught her how to skate, maneuvering her hips to balance from behind her. She wants more stuff like that. She wants Zoro to touch her freely, not just when he's worried or something. But like hell if Lucy knows what to do about it. Or how any of that stuff works. Relationships, and all that. Lucy's never seen one up close. Maybe, well, is that what girl talk is for? Nami and Robin are both older than her, and a lot more experienced with men. Maybe they can help. Should I tell him? Nami blinks, clearly a little surprised. Do you want him to know? Slowly, haltingly, Lucy starts to nod, but then she chickens out and shrugs, helpless. I think you should be honest about your feelings, at any rate, Robin adds, and Lucy's never seen her so gentle. Normally Lucy's never anything less than totally forthright. She hasn't even been really trying to hide this, just suppress the urges she knows can't be interpreted as anything but romantic. Like when she wants to jump him in front of a stadium full of people, or sucking on the earlobe with the earrings. Really, was that the best way to teach her how to skate? She's going to dream about that. A lot. She can still feel how heavy and warm his palms felt against her skin. He'd been so much more confident here on Long Ring than before, on Skypia, or any other occasion where his hands have brushed against her waist. Also, Lucy was not expecting to like being manhandled. She does though, she definitely Zoro. Okay, I do not want to know what you're thinking about right now, Nami interjects. Lucy realizes she zoned out a little, and thinks to hell with it, it's not like they don't already know. I don't know how to do this. Tell him. Is it okay if, what if he doesn't like me back and we can't even be friends? Nami and Robin share a look that Lucy would read as exasperated under any other circumstances. I think no matter what happens you guys will be friends, but usually it's best to get emotions like that out in the open. Lucy frowns, and looks back at the mirror. I'm not like you guys though. I'm not, like, girly and stuff. I don't know how to be. I don't want to be. With Zoro. Oi. Lucy. Can you really see Zoro going for someone like us? Lucy glances between them sheepishly, and shrugs. The truth is, yes, she can, but she doesn't like the idea of Zoro with anyone who isn't her, so. Nami sighs. Trust me. Zoro's not into our types of girl. Just, trust me on that one. You're fine as you are. I don't like dresses, Lucy confesses, or skirts. I think Swordsman-san is unlikely to care. That's true. Zoro doesn't really seem to care about that sort of thing. Plus, fighting in a skirt seems hard. How do you fight in a skirt? Lucy asks her nakama. Nami rolls her eyes, and Robin chuckles. Not all of us expect to get in a fight every day, the redhead snaps. True. That sounds boring though. It really just takes some practiced maneuvering, Robin explains, smile on her face. Plus, our fighting styles are far less reliant on range of motion than yours. Lucy's still a bit confused as to why anyone would willingly fight in a skirt, but what if you need to kick someone? Kick them fast and they won't see anything. Wouldn't wearing pants be easier? Nami shrugs. But I want to look cute. Well, okay then. Lucy still doesn't get it. I don't want to wear a skirt. No one's forcing you into a skirt, dumbass. Good. I am going to make you wear a nice shirt though. What? Why? It's part of the makeover. There's a gleam in Nami's eye that makes Lucy suddenly regret agreeing to any of this. Lucy lost. Lucy lost so badly she's not sure why she's alive right now. Why did the marine guy spare her? She didn't even hold her own against him, so killing her and collecting the bounty would have been easy. It's funny, but a few months ago, Lucy's not sure she would have been able to recognize how outclassed she was. She hadn't been as strong then as she is now, and despite all that improvement, the gulf between her current level and the top is still wide. Losing sucked. It stung. It's not like this is the first time Lucy's lost a fight. Ace's perfect win record could attest to that. But it is the first time she's lost an important fight, where her nakama's lives were on the line, and this time she can't even go after him again like she did with Crocodile. She wouldn't win anyway. Their current difference in power is too great. She would still fight him regardless, but the only reason she's alive and her nakama safe is because someone else decided to be merciful, and that's just unacceptable. In that fight the main problem was her reaction times. She was way too slow for the ice guy by half, and even when she did manage to land a hit, she didn't deal damage. If she's going to be fighting guys like him in the future, and she almost certainly will, she's going to need to figure out how to be faster, stronger. Lucy glares at the sea from Mary's stern. There are things she discovered as a kid when she was experimenting with her abilities. Most importantly, the sensitivity and accuracy of her control. Most of the time, her skin has the same texture and elasticity of a normal human's. Or at least it does now that she's perfected her unconscious control. That changes if her life is being threatened. No bullets are ever going to pierce her because she was caught unawares, or if she consciously wills it to change. But that doesn't mean she's limited to extending her limbs and torso as units. If she really tries, she can stretch individual blood vessels, even capillaries, and Lucy is pretty certain it extends to a cellular level too. But she's never tried to give herself a tumor to check. It's pretty uncomfortable, but she can do the blood vessel thing. She gets muscle cramps afterwards though. Lucy sits up, looks at her hands, and tilts her head. Will that work, given everything she knows about rubber, and the way people's bodies work? Lucy finds Chopper in the infirmary. Robin still has yet to fully recover, and he's looking after her. Chopper, I have something to ask you. The little reindeer looks concerned. Yes, Lucy? Does anything hurt? Lucy shakes her head. It's not that. Lucy sits down across from her ship doctor, and for once doesn't smile or tease him. I need you to tell me everything you know about how the body works. Lucy always hated goodbyes. Leaving is always worse when she's the one left behind, but she knows there's a special kind of pain associated with leaving someone she wants to take with her. Lucy wants to take the Mary with her. The Mary is a good ship. The best ship. She's sailed over mountains and through winter wonderlands, nearly fallen into a nest of sea kings and flown in the sky. She's carried them from shore to shore, heedless of difficulty or impossibility, safely and without fail for almost 4 months now. She's been their home, their safe harbor, their place of rest. Nothing could touch them aboard the Mary. Even as she developed deeper, more troubling scars, she still felt warm and lovely to them. But ships don't grow. Not like people do. When a ship breaks, she can't always be put back together. The man at the shipyard scoffed at her earlier. You call yourself a captain? Usually, when Lucy hears those words, someone is complaining about her gender. It was rarer that someone made a comment about her captaincy that held legitimate criticism. How could she call herself a captain if she ran her ship into the ocean floor, endangering all her friends in the process? How could she call herself a friend if she asked the Mary to go until she couldn't help them any longer? If the Mary loves them, and Lucy believes she does, then wouldn't that be more painful for her, to watch them all drown? Above all things, Lucy must care for her crew. The Mary is part of her nakama. To neglect her in such a way, no wonder the shipwright scoffed at her today. It would be better, kinder, and safer for everyone to lay her to rest here at Water 7, where the Mary could watch beautiful ships pass through the harbor as they sail off to new adventures, and know she carried her crew farther and more fantastically than any other possibly could. About the ship, she says, she isn't using more than a normal speaking voice, but she knows Zoro, Sanji, and Chopper hear her anyway. I've made a decision. Don't underestimate me, Lucy. This is a fight for a man's pride, and the Mary. Don't think I'm like everyone else you've faced. Zoro wants to hit him. Of course you're not, you ungrateful dumbass. You're supposed to be on our side, on her side, not challenging her for the ship. She loves you. Lucy doesn't say anything, hasn't been speaking much at all since the fight this evening. She throws a punch and ducks around a few caltrops, trying to get closer. Zoro will give Usopp credit. He's putting up a fight, and he certainly made this as inconvenient for Lucy as possible. Darkly, he wonders if the sniper is just trying to draw out everyone's torment as long as possible, like the dramatic climax in one of his stories. Zoro can't help it. He's angry at Usopp. He's angry at him for being so self-centered that he can't see they don't think less of him because he has different skills. He's angry at him for being short-sighted, for thinking any of them would leave the Mary behind if they had any alternative. He's angry because of the things Usopp shouted at Lucy, things that should never be said by a friend. He's angry because they're already losing the Mary, they're still not sure where Robin is, and it's a terrible blow to them all to realize they've lost another friend too. Zoro's not saying Lucy's entirely innocent in the current situation. She lost her temper when Usopp questioned her captaincy, and started to say things she didn't mean. But from the beginning, her actions were all intended to protect Usopp and his feelings. Usopp did not offer her, or any of them, the same consideration. How dare he leave? How dare he just throw their friendship away like that, like it meant nothing to him? Their only bond? What about the months of camaraderie and trust and triumph? Usopp ignites a cloud of gas around Lucy, and it lights up the night, rocks the Mary with its force. Zoro is unconcerned, but he watches the clouds for Lucy's silhouette until it appears. There is little to no chance of Usopp beating Lucy. He had to have known that when he made the challenge, when he left. So how could he, knowing that, just waste their bonds like that? Zoro understands pride, and he understands honor, which is why he knows that, even if Usopp truly wanted to leave, he never needed to call Lucy to a duel like he did. This isn't Usopp satisfying honor. This is Usopp assuaging his misplaced feelings of impotence and shame, fueled by grief, by taking it out on his friends and especially on Lucy. It's not fair to any of them, and Zoro can't believe Usopp is going quite this far. Lucy, in the interests of honoring the duel and respecting Usopp's request, is not holding back on him. Her hits are connecting, and even though she's using non-lethal amounts of force, she isn't playing with him. That's good, because Zoro would be angry with her if she did. Still, he can read the way this tears at her in every line of her frame. She doesn't want to do this, not at all, but she does because Usopp asked her to, because sometimes kindness is not pity or care, but respect offered as an equal. That's why Lucy is doing this right now, out of respect for the friendship they share. Shared. Lucy ends it, finally, the painful motions of the fight ceasing as Usopp crumples to follows, but her collapse is not out of defeat, rather, it's horror. It's decided then, he whispers to the others, it's mostly for Nami and Chopper's sake. She stands after a moment, apparently composed enough to return to the ship. You can do whatever you like with the Mary, she tells him. We'll buy a new ship, and go on to new seas ahead. A pause, and as she approaches, Zoro can see her lower lip wobble, and her voice cracks a little when she says, "Goodbye, Usopp. It's been fun." Zoro watches her carefully as she comes nearer. He can't see her face, she's using the hat to conceal it, but he sees her hands shaking. Lucy hates when people leave. Zoro can't imagine what pushing away someone she cares about must feel like for her. Part of him wants to reach out and comfort her, Or at least let her cry on his shoulder, help her wipe the soot from her skin. But half the reason they're in this mess is because Usopp didn't respect her decision as a captain, because he couldn't accept the decision coming from her. What Lucy needs right now is a first mate to remind her to be captain, not a friend to remind her to be human. It's hard, she whimpers. Zoro's quite certain only he was meant to hear it, if anyone was at all. He can see the toll this is taking on her, walking away from Usopp like this. Because he knows her, he knows she wants to run back to him. She wants to tell him he's forgiven if he wants to be and that this doesn't have to be the end of their time together. But this crew isn't just a group of friends. They're pirates, and Lucy is the captain. That's what being captain is. He says it almost snappishly, like he doesn't want to go beat some sense into Usopp as well. He sees Sanji's eyes flash warningly at his tone, but Zoro ignores it. Don't hesitate. If you can't be resolute in your decisions, then who can we trust? Lucy doesn't say anything, but her head bows in acknowledgement and she slides the hat forward, to fully cover her face. Let's gather our stuff, he tells the others, toned softer. Lucy's in no shape to be giving orders at the moment. We won't be coming back here again. The other three, in various states of shock, make their way down to the living quarters of the ship. As for Zoro, he doesn't move until Lucy does. Lucy knows Zoro's powerful. Hell, the first thing she knew about him, beyond any shadow of a doubt, was that Zoro is strong. Sometimes though, Zoro still takes her breath away with his sheer brilliance. Lucy doesn't often get to see him fight. Usually, somehow, they end up on opposite ends of a battlefield. Because Lucy always goes for the jugular of whoever poses the most threat to her crew and Zoro sticks with the crew to make sure nothing happens to them while Lucy is gone or fights off the most proficient swordsman the opponents have to offer. It's kind of regrettable though, because it means she rarely gets to see him really go all out on his enemies. She clearly hasn't been paying enough attention since she last saw him in a proper duel. The man on the train tracks would have been difficult for him even a month ago. Today he cuts through him in a single move. Something about watching Zoro fight makes her feel warm and restless inside. It's the same swooping want inside that she sometimes gets when he trains, low and liquid in her belly. The confidence and deftness of his movements, the intense, focused look in his eye, the perfect, deadly position of his blades, the smile that makes him look like a particularly fearsome jaguar. For some reason thinking about it makes her mind conjure images of what she could do with him, if he were willing, and Zoro jumps back into the train car, soaking wet from the waves and rain. This does not help her turn off her brain. You're amazing, Zoro, she tells him seriously. She would give him a hug but she doesn't want to diminish the other men's respect for them by being too familiar. Zoro flushes bright red though, so Lucy still calls it a victory. Here, I grabbed some extra clothes from the station store as we were leaving. I hope you all find something to your liking, Kiwi offers with a grin. Zoro figures that's just a nice way of saying, you all stink like you've been running from the authorities for the past 24 hours, please change. Unfortunately, for Zoro, she didn't bring much in terms of men's clothes. The best he can do is swap his blood-soaked, torn, sweaty, white shirt for a yellow jacket. Better than nothing. He looks over to Chopper, who's now donning a small red jacket made of an extremely stretchy material he probably selected with his transformations in mind. The little reindeer is nibbling on some snacks produced from one of Frankie's groupies. Sanji is also over there trying to chat up Mozu. Usopp is awkwardly hovering about 5 feet behind Chopper, like he wants to talk to him but can't work up the nerve. Zoro doesn't think much of Usopp right now, but he's glad the sniper is proving himself the man Zoro always thought he was by helping them with Robin and Frankie. Anything personal can wait until this situation is resolved. Nami's rifling through clothes, but Lucy is having what seems to be a serious discussion with Polly about the speed of the train and how large Eni's lobby is. If the cook's estimate is accurate, the main train was only about 30 minutes ahead of them at the time. But judging these things is apparently not so simple considering weather conditions and the relative speeds of the trains. It's a very un-Lucy conversation. She's not usually the one thinking about the details of a plan. She's more the here's what I want to do go make it happen type. Actually, Lucy has been a bit more, Zoro doesn't want to say comfortable, but maybe authoritative, lately. Usually she's just so carefree it comes as a bit of a shock when she suddenly says or does something that reminds him she's the captain, and the captain for a reason. Not so much though, recently. Ever since Skypia she's had a little more weight to her captaincy. Maybe deposing a god does that to a person. He's proud of her. A lot has occurred since making landfall on Water 7, and Lucy has been nothing if not relentless in pursuit of what she wants. So much so that they're now about to invade a heavily fortified government compound to rescue 2 people, one of whom possibly doesn't want to be rescued. Zoro wonders if, had he known about this back when she found him, he would have agreed to come. The fact that the answer is yes actually makes him question his sanity. Well, a little. Mostly just for a second or two, but it's not like he has any regrets, so. Hey, Zoro, come here for a second. Zoro turns to Lucy, who is holding up a few articles of clothing and beckoning him over. Why are you standing in a corner? He asks. It's unlike her to not pursue the center of attention. I'm changing, she tells him, and immediately starts to unbuckle her shorts. Zoro swears and whips around on the spot, face beet red. What the hell are you thinking? There's 50 people in here, and most of them are guys, he doesn't add. Guys who are currently trying to get a peek at the girl behind him. Something possessive and dark coils in him, and the glare he sends the men closest to him makes 1 or 2 of them actually pee themselves. Zoro knows because he can smell it, which, not pleasant. The rest of them seem to sort of get the message because they all back off, minus a few brave or stupid but probably the later souls who try again. For them Zoro fingers his katana meaningfully, which is a pretty effective deterrent. Unfortunately, due to it being a pretty small space with a lot of people inside, Zoro has to back up to Lucy pretty closely to completely hide her from the rest of the car. This means there's not much room for Lucy to change, which means she keeps bumping him and also leaning on him, occasionally, and all of this results in Zoro having a pretty good idea of where she's at in the changing process, which leads to all sorts of thoughts which are completely inappropriate at the moment. Sorry, she apologizes eventually. There's no place to change and my options were you or Chopper, and he was eating. Zoro's not sure if he should be upset that he seems to have been her second choice, or pleased to be on the list at all. The cook's not doing anything important. It comes out more irritable than he meant. Okay, so, usually it's not a problem, but occasionally he still gets a little jealous of the cook and Lucy. The stupid cook knows it, too, and sometimes sets him off on purpose. He maybe wants her to say she prefers Zoro. Honestly, only Lucy makes him this petty and pathetic. It's frustrating as hell. I love Sanji, but I really don't think this is the best job for him. Well, his heart may have ruptured at the first part, but he's pretty sure she means that platonically, so Zoro snorts. Damn straight. I can't believe Nami just changed in front of everyone like that. Zoro smirks. I can. Polly isn't so far off when he says Nami is shameless, although his apparent inability to control himself around women wearing anything more revealing than a loose-fitting jumpsuit rubs Zoro the wrong way. The girls can wear whatever they goddamn please. Polly's issues have nothing to do with them. Okay, Zoro, I'm good now. Zoro steps forward, turns around, taking in his captain, and holy shit. She swapped her denim shorts for black cargo pants that sling low around her hips. She's wearing a white cotton shirt that cuts off under her bust and a red leather jacket over that. She still wears the sandals, but honestly, she looks ready for war. It is not doing good things to his head. He's fairly certain he does not have a brain at the moment. If he does, it's certainly not working. So many fantasies. So many fantasies. Zoro? Something wrong? I want to press you against a wall right now, but no, not really. But then he realizes he's staring and can't control the blush that induces, so he looks away while Lucy dons her hat. I'm fine, he manages, in a tone that's pretty close to normal. He supposes the attire is appropriate considering the sheer amount of people who are going to be after them once this is finished. Ready to storm a government facility? She asks him, her face lifting in enthusiasm. He smirks at Haidu with my weekend?